And a good Friday morning. Thank you for closing out the week with us. I'm Kevin Bowen. Andy Sweeney alongside Mark Dykton across the way. I think you two would label yourselves big football fans, right?
Yeah, I'm ready for the weekend, and they better be good games.
You know, a lot of people label this weekend as like the weekend of the year.
Oh, yeah.
I think a lot of people view, hey, divisional round, the 2 on Saturday, the 2 on Sunday, you're down to your final 8 legit opponents. I kind of pointed to last weekend and thought, hey, you got the 2 college football semifinals. Those bleed right into the 3 wild card days all the way to Monday. But are you more of a divisional round week? I know, obviously, last weekend was not very good from an entertainment value standpoint, but are you more of a divisional round and we get the national title then on Monday?
Yeah, so I'm a divisional round guy. I would agree with that. The thing that changed it were the college football playoff games, last weekend. So that's going to be something new, to the calendar. Is that the way it's always going to be set up? And I know those games weren't always the best. In fact, they kind of let us down. But if we go strictly NFL weekend, get jacked up for an NFL weekend, it's this weekend. I guess the only thing that scares me is 3 of the 4 games, we just have monster spreads. I mean, a touchdown in the Eagles-Rams, 9.5 in Lions-Commanders, and 8.5 with Chiefs-Texans. So I'm hoping the underdogs and at times the road teams are able to make it fun. If not, 3 of the 4 games could be duds. I don't think that's going to happen, though. I think we're going to have a damn good weekend. And by the way, I'm putting football notice. We better. After last weekend, we better have a great weekend, and that
Football
better
shaking in its boots, right?
I'm sure
Andy's
they
turning
are.
his NFL
or
fandom
you know what I'm going
card.
to do? I'm going to go watch the ACC basketball. I'm going to go watch Boston College and Notre Dame reruns.
Well,
okay,
what the hell?
that's what I'm going to do.
Hey, now
to
you're
hell
just-
with you, football.
That was an entertaining second half. You'll see the Irish play some great basketball.
That's a masochist point of view, I
At
think.
Syracuse tomorrow for the Irish.
Boy, I tell you, what has happened? Who's Syracuse's head coach?
Well, that's a great question. The guy who was supposed to be coaching waiting left to go to Washington,
He
right?
left it, yeah, that was like a decade. That was probably 8-9 years ago.
He's like, wait, Boeheim's coming
Yeah.
back for another year? I could have sworn he told
For
me
a
this was his
50th
last
year.
year.
It's funny. I learned who it was early in the week and I already forgot it on a Friday. I was hoping I was going to ask you and remember it. No, I mean, the NFL can put anything out there, but I'm jacked up. I'm hoping 3 of the 4 games are great, and I'm hoping Bills-Ravens is fantastic.
Well,
I sure
and-
hope it is.
This is new, too, to get the national title on the Monday after divisional
Sure.
round. With the 12-team playoff, obviously, that's pushed back the college football calendar a little bit. So we'll get you set. Again, it'll be the number 1 seeds coming up tomorrow. That'll be the Texans at the Chiefs, of course, and then the Commanders, Lions, and then Sunday, as Andy said, Bills-Ravens, certainly the one that everyone has circled. I think Eagles-Rams is a very good game as well. That will be on Sunday, and, of course, the national championship on Monday. Speaking of road teams, the Pacers, they are road dogs. And boy, have they been that lately. Remember when the Pacers couldn't win a game on the road?
They used to stink on the road, yeah.
They win last night in Detroit, 110-100. The final score, I think that was the final score in that one. And really, I think go a variety of ways, Andy. First off, this team continues to win on the road. I think it's like 10 of 12 after just, again, an ugly start away from home. Miles Turner, absolutely outstanding, stretching the floor. I thought Pascal Siakam had just another kind of Pascal Siakam type of night. And then the injury report ended up being very good news. The fact that Halliburton only missed 1 game with this injury, Andy,
It's stunning.
that might be like the most important aspect of this week.
Well, that was going to be my point. I cannot believe he only missed 1 game. I mean, we talked to Scott Agnes yesterday, and I'm not calling him out. He thought, if Halliburton misses another couple games, who could really complain after last year and after knowing that this guy has had hamstring, groin issues, whatever it may be? Like, no one would complain if you said, well, it's a Thursday night in Detroit. Let's try to get the win without him. And without Halliburton last night, they probably obviously would have lost. And it's not even like they eased him back in. Last year we saw he played 18 minutes in a game. He played 20. Wasn't 20 or 22 minutes kind of the threshold that they had him in games last year? He played 34 minutes, and he was playing the important minutes last night. You got Neesmith back, and he was immediately comfortable in that lineup. So I thought last night, I know Detroit, they're not the Knicks or the Celtics or, obviously the Cavaliers, who, by the way, the Cavs got smoked last night. They're none of those teams. But, it's a team you may fight for the middle playoffs, and it's, as Carlisle said after the game, it's a young, up-and-coming team. Cade Cunningham is obviously an all-star level player who's been playing great. I don't know. Last night, I thought that was a good win. I thought it was a very good win for the Pacers to go on the road, and I got to be honest, KB, for basically that entire game, I felt like they were going to win. There was no fluke to it, so... Pacers go on the road and they get the win 111-100. It's a good game for them.
Yeah, again, Neesmith back, 9 minutes for him, just 2 separate stints that he played. And like you said, he very seamless coming right back into it. And I thought, did a lot of Neesmith type of things. But again, they did not play him in the second half there. So that'll be something to continue to watch. Obviously, they're going to ease him in big time. Major hat tip to Andrew Nemhard. I mean, Cade Cunningham is 7 of 21. Nemhard is asked to play 41 minutes, pretty much match Cunningham's minutes. He does that very, very well. So, again, 111-100 for the Pacers last night. That is 10 of their last 12 road games. What would you call the end of the game? Would you call it skirmishy?
I was going to say, before we move on, I mean, we were right on the edge.
Because in that city, I get a little nervous when people kind of bow up.
There was the jawing back and forth. Siakam had been jawing with different guys the entire game. I don't know what was going on. I don't know if there was physical play. I don't know if it's a young Pistons team that, was junk talking the Pacers throughout the game. But it never got really bad. Like, it never escalated last night. But you had initially, Tim Hardaway Jr. and Siakam go back and forth. Then Cade Cunningham walks up. And then Tyrese Halliburton walks up. No offense to Halliburton, but he needs to stay out of all these fights, okay? He needs to stay out of all of it. And then it almost happened. We almost had James Johnson stare down Isaiah Stewart.
Boy, and you know what? If I happen to see Ryan Day in an alley, those are the two that I want on my side.
Are you not? So for people that don't remember, Isaiah Stewart was the player who did he almost charge? Do you remember? This is 3 years ago, Mark? We may need to look this up.
He looked like Marshawn Lynch in the open field.
He did. He charged he had to be held back by coaches and assistant coaches and teammates and everything else. He lost his mind 3 years ago in an NBA game. Plus, I think he likes to fight, and I think he's kind of crazy. Well, and we know that's why he's employed by the Pacers, is to stop guys like Isaiah Stewart.
And you know what? I'm sitting there watching last night, and I'm glad I stuck with it all the way through the end.
Me too.
There's Jeremiah Johnson interviewing Miles, and I'm thinking, Miles keeps on looking over his shoulder like, when's Isaiah Stewart going to go full crazy?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, JJ, you got to look over your shoulder, brother.
Yeah, JJ, you're going to be in the middle of this.
Yeah.
Come on, guy. Get out of there.
He's going over you to get to Miles.
Yeah.
And JJ just cool, calm, collected, poised like none other. Looks like, Anthony Richardson, in the pocket trying to avoid a rush. He's just throwing questions at Miles. I'm thinking, JJ, watch your back, man. I know you're from Peru. You've seen some crazy things in the circus. You were the Ball State mascot. But damn.
I didn't know JJ was the Ball State mascot.
Ball State mascot.
Was he really?
Chirp, chirp.
I don't know if that's something I would like to do. Well, first of all, don't you have to be able to do flips and cartwheels and?
Well, not if you're that Hawk, right? If you're the St. Joe Hawk, all you got to do is
just kind of
flap your wings.
You just got to flap your arms.
Which I say all you have to do.
Yeah,
I think
that's
it's
all you have
really
to do.
Difficult.
Listen, we were a second away from it. I was like, let's go. And if it's going to happen, James Johnson was kind of looking at guys like, really? You want to step up and get in the middle of this? I don't think that's the case. So, Pacers get the win last night. I thought it was a good win.
James Johnson versus
Isaiah Stewart.
Yeah. He was going after LeBron. That's who Isaiah Stewart was going after?
Well, I thought it was, but I just can't remember. Is that who it was?
That's what people are saying.
Yeah. Boy, I wish you would have got through.
Indiana fans, brace yourself tonight.
No.
You are in Columbus, 6.5-point underdog, Indiana, Ohio State. I assume, and Mike Woodson certainly was a fan of this the other night, I assume the fact that we've gotten to Friday at 7 a.m., Umar Ballo is good, and there won't be any sort of lingering. I didn't think that act necessarily deserved a suspension, but
no.
You really never know how college basketball is going to handle some things. So we'll see about Malik Renew. He acted like maybe there was a chance that he could get back, and Ohio State is reeling arguably just as much as Indiana. So two teams that very much need a win tonight. I assume all the Ohio State fans are already in Atlanta.
Yeah, does anyone care? Tickets are $8 to get into tonight's game. So if you're an Indiana fan, you want to make the trip to Columbus, you can spend $8 to get into a Big Ten college basketball game on a Friday night.
You've got Gus on your airwaves. Gus Johnson, Jim Jackson.
I mean,
Fox
it's just
coming up tonight.
Let me ask you something. If you're an Indiana fan, and let's say you lose this game, and it's 72-58, okay? So you don't lose by 25. You're not down by 30, 35 points. But, Ohio State, like you mentioned, they're not very good. They're 10-7. They're, they decided to go the easy route when hiring a coach last year. So we'll see how it works out. Although they did beat Kentucky this year, which is funny. Are you going to carry the bad vibes into your Friday night and Saturday? Like, if you're an Indiana fan, that's what we've done all week. Right? They played on what night? Was it Wednesday? Was it Wednesday or Tuesday that they played?
Tuesday.
It was Tuesday night, and you've had a bad taste in your mouth since Tuesday night. Are you just going to recycle that over the weekend and let Mike Woodson ruin your weekend? That's the question. Because I think Indiana probably goes on the road. They probably lose tonight.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of hey, are we limping? Or are we just limping to mid-March? When's the...
Boy, that's a long limp.
Yeah, I know.
But, a long limp.
March 12th? When's the whatever? It's not like Indiana ever makes a run in the Big Ten tournament. So, when do you exit stage left?
Yeah, I think it's that week. I know there's some
Probably over it here, right? Isn't the Big Ten tournament
I know the Horizon League plays that week because we're playing the promos and the commercials the entire time. So, the Big Ten's so damn big now that they start games on Tuesday afternoon, don't they?
Well, yeah, they have to.
They have to finish, yeah.
I think you drop the final couple of Big Ten teams. So, in Indiana tonight, Purdue's got a good one tomorrow. Them and Oregon, probably a matchup of two teams that we will see ranked, certainly high from a seeding standpoint. Potentially something that would have some Big Ten impact late in the year standing-wise. So, again, Purdue has got Oregon coming up tomorrow. That is 3 o'clock there on NBC.
I'm trying to figure out, Indiana overnight moved up one spot in the net rankings from 64 to number 63. I'm trying to figure out exactly how they did that. 7.5 is your number for Indiana, Ohio State tonight. So we'll dive into that busy show today. Greg Rakestraw, still a Football Friday. We'll talk with Rake coming up at 8 o'clock. And Pat Forde of SportsIllustratedSI.com. KB, I know he'll be there with you. He'll be in the comforts of the press box.
Pat had a great nugget in his story of, if Notre Dame wins it all, do they have the worst loss ever for a national champion? Do you know how much Notre Dame paid Northern Illinois for that game?
Oh, I'm going to guess $1.5 million.
Oh, gosh, you are good. 1.4.
Oh, is that what it was? Yeah. Those schools get paid a lot of money to go up there and usually get their brains beat in.
Thomas Hammock crying on the field afterwards.
I remember that.
Mark Dykton sending me tweets.
Well, they won that game, if you remember. NIU won that game, and everyone said they're going to represent the group of 5 in the college football playoff. And didn't they finish like 7-5 or something like that? They weren't a good team.
I was happy to see them finish above 500.
Well, yeah. Pat might be right. I need to go find that nugget. So, obviously, national championship game. We'll talk with Pat Forde coming up at 9 o'clock. What else do we have? We'll give you our NFL picks in the 8 o'clock hour, and obviously, it's a freebie Friday on the pop quiz on the back end of the show. What did Rick Carlisle say after the win last night? We'll let you hear that, plus your news and scores from overnight. Appreciate you hanging out with us on this Friday, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
The Road Warriors. Did not say that about the Pacers at the start of the season. Certainly, it's very fair to say that about them right now. Andy Sweeney, I assume you will lead off a morning check down and talking about that win in Detroit.
Yeah, we'll get to Carlisle here in a second. You want a little breaking NFL news?
No.
We found out the Colts were the home team for the Belgium game, right? We talked about that. Berlin, excuse me, a couple days ago. The Miami Dolphins have been designated as the home team for the regular season game next year in Madrid.
Okay.
Does that excite you at all?
Sure. Why not?
Tua, Mike McDaniels.
Yeah.
Their 8-win
For
football
some reason, I could kind of, that's a spicy team. I kind of feel like,
it is a
Spain
spicy
kind
team.
of fits them.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. So
when I think of Germany, I think of rain and like 45 degrees and drinking beer, and I kind of feel like that fits the Colts.
Yeah, run Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor every time up the middle. So next year, NFL going to Spain. Miami Dolphins going to be one of those teams. They'll be the home team. All right, like you said, the Pacers now 500 on the road, 4 games over 500 in all. Boy, they've really climbed out of this hole. A good win last night on the road in Detroit, 111-100. Here's Rick Carlisle post-game on the win.
We knew this was going to be a physical and emotional battle. I mean, this is a team on the rise. We're right there with them in the standings. It's a divisional game. They beat us bad the last game, and so I liked our disposition. We stayed tough. We stayed together. We kept our poise, and they made runs, which we fully expected.
A couple notable items. Miles Turner was fantastic last night. 28 points, had the 8 3-pointers. The return of Aaron Nesmith. Didn't play in the second half, played 9 minutes in the first half. Had 9 points in those 9 minutes. And the return also, Tyrese Halliburton missing just 1 game with that groin injury. 17 points in 34 minutes. Up next, you mentioned it earlier, KB, hosting Philly Saturday night. You can catch it right here on The Fan.
Embiid has missed 6 in a row. Foot injury. They haven't played since Wednesday. They do have a back-to-back with Milwaukee Sunday, so there's something to keep an eye on here. And again, after, obviously, tomorrow, the Pacers off to Paris for a couple games against the Spurs coming up next week. All right, tonight, appointment television, Indiana, the basketball team with Mike Woodson, 8 o'clock against the Ohio State Buckeyes. That is Gus Johnson and Jim Jackson on the call. Indiana is a 7.5-point underdog in this one. Ohio State, a bit reeling. They're 10-7 on the season. We'll see about Malik Reneau. Could he be back after missing, a handful of games at this point? It doesn't sound like Umar Bala will be suspended for anything that happened there late in their loss the other night to Illinois.
Would you bench him? Would you bench him if you're Mike Woodson? He's done that once or twice. I don't think I actually would.
Yeah, I
Doesn't matter. I guess it doesn't matter. He'll play 32 minutes anyway.
I more had an issue with you give up 60 in the first half and the same 5 come out to start the second half. 60.5.
Yeah, I remember. I came on I was on the radio that day thinking Indiana had a chance to win and beat Illinois. And they allowed 60 points.
Tonight, Indiana, Ohio State. Purdue and Oregon tomorrow at 3.
Yeah, our NFL games start 4:30. ESPN on Saturday. Chiefs and Texans. Lions, Commanders. The 8 o'clock game on Fox. And then it all starts Sunday, 3 o'clock on NBC. Eagles, Rams, Bills, Ravens. What's the second best game? I know we'll pick the games coming up at about 8:30. What's the second best game? Obviously, Ravens, Bills is the game.
I think Sundays. I think Sunday's slate. I think Rams, Eagles. There is a little part of me that just the appeal of the rookie quarterback and Jaden Daniels, from an entertainment value. And I said this to Jimmy Cook yesterday. He didn't like it at all. I wouldn't just all of a sudden Sharpie the Chiefs in.
Okay. What,
there's a shock.
Against Houston? You think Houston's got a shot?
I definitely think Houston covers that.
Okay.
I mean, they have a pass rush. They have a defense. Mm-hmm. We saw it against the Chargers. And, if you can create some of that, let's not act like Kansas City's been an absolute juggernaut this season.
Well, and Kansas City's been off for more than 3 weeks, so do they have a quarter and a half to get going? Does that allow Houston to stay in the game because of that? I don't know. It's a good question. I do think Kansas City wins that game, though. Boy, Jimmy's mad at you, isn't he?
Yeah, he's pissed.
Oh, boy, that's not good.
Quickly trying to move the subject to Notre Dame and Ohio State.
Start talking about Tiger Woods together. All right, coming up on the other end, more college football, more NFL conversation, the Pacers as well, plus quarterback competition for Anthony Richardson. What could that look like? We'll keep hanging out with you. We got you to 10 o'clock on this Football Friday. Wake up call, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
It is a Friday. You know, that means Greg Rakestraw going to join us coming up at 8. Certainly want to ask Rake about what, news yesterday in the MLB world. And, I think Major League Baseball kind of offers this. They offer these individuals like a Bob Uecker that really, I would argue, Andy, become the face of a franchise in some cases. Like
without a doubt.
When I think of the Milwaukee Brewers, and nothing against the Brewers, I mean, I don't know, maybe I should think of whatever, Yelich or Ben Sheets, or I'm trying to think of like random
Ryan Braun.
Ryan Braun,
Ben
like,
Sheets. Oh, I think of Joel A. Erickson, but that's just me.
Trying to think of like
come on,
random Brewers, but guy like Bob Uecker is kind of who I think of first. And I don't know, maybe the Major League, aspect has to do with it, but it's kind of a special bond that I think baseball, more than any other sport, creates. And I get it, Don Fisher, certainly with IU, and, some of the, Bob Lamy with the Colts for so long. Yeah, I mean, there are other sports where it happens, but I just think baseball, it's different. So I am, Bob Uecker, of course, passing at the age of 90 yesterday. That was announced. But, asking Ray kind of, who he had growing up. As some of those people,
he'll have some names for you.
Yeah, I mean,
don't worry. Yeah, he'll
Amari
have the names.
Brenneman or Jack
Sure.
Buck, or just some of these other names that you certainly think of. But just an amazing personality, Bob Uecker, and rest in peace to certainly a great human.
Well, it's amazing what he accomplished. Like after he was 50 years old. Like a lot of this picked up later, middle or later in his life. And no, he became a celebrity. You think of all the TVs and movies and everything he did. I know I've been, like many people, going back on YouTube and watching some stuff, obviously. And even I think one of his best calls was, I blank on the year. I apologize. Remember, Mark, when they got CC Sabathia for that run? And then, like, CC, all he did was it felt like he pitched every single game. Like, he'd come in the middle of games, he'd start games, but they finally broke their playoff drought. And I'm pretty sure Ben Sheets was a part of that team. In fact, I'm fairly certain he was, watching the mob there on the mound. So definitely rest in peace. And you need to, listen, it's dirty, there's F-bombs and everything else, but many years ago, and this is before he passed, Norm Macdonald and Artie Lang were on with Howard Stern. And they talked for like 8 minutes about, and Norm had a pretty good relationship with Bob Uecker. I mean, they were friends, and they told, hanging out with Bob Uecker, all the different dirty things or F-bombs that he would throw out there. And one of them, KB, I'll give you this. We have a cough button. It says cough on it. So if we got a cough, we can obviously, or we want to talk back and forth, we can, yeah, there you go. He just did it. KB just did it. We can hit that button. That Bob Uecker would call a game, and like when Norm Macdonald would go up there, he'd quickly hit the cough button, give a one-liner that was dirty in some way, profanity-laden, and then just go right back to the game. The 3-2. The 3-2 to Ben Sheets. And then he'd hit the cough button, say something nasty, and then go right back to it. So I thought the last 24 hours I've learned more about Bob Uecker than I probably did the last 10 years.
Greg Rakestraw.
Everybody in this place is standing. 45,299. Sabathia sets. Here it is. Swinging a bouncer. Double play ball. JJ second. Relay. Double play. Hey, they win. Whoa, what a finish. CC Sabathia.
How about that crowd reaction?
Oh, there's a wild crowd. Yeah, next time we have Joel on, we need to ask where he was. That was what? I mean, that was good. That was over 10 years ago, I would imagine. I don't know if it has it on the descripration there on YouTube, Mark.
I don't know.
We'll look it up. It
It just says on 3 days
nice
rest,
tackle.
they beat the Cubs.
Greg Rakestraw going to join us here coming up at 8. Pat Forde at 9 o'clock as he descends upon Atlanta for the national championship. Notre Dame and Ohio State will arrive today. And, of course, that game coming up Monday night at 7:30. A week ago, Andy, Chris Ballard had his season-ending press conference. And among the other things that he said that we haven't had a chance to get to, he certainly mentioned they will add at quarterback this offseason. And I think where I struggle to give a great answer would be, what does that need to look like?
Yeah, and who?
Yeah, both of those kind of fall in the same category for me. What does it look like age-wise? What does it look like style-wise? Are you thinking more you care about on the field versus off the field? That might be a question that I have. I assume you would opt for like an actual guy that's played in the NFL versus spending another draft pick necessarily at that position. But I don't, and to be fair, I don't think Chris Bauer's answer, which we'll play here, offers a ton of clarity either. I think he's kind of still in the early stages of exactly what we should try and pursue there at quarterback. But nonetheless, it does sound like the Colts will go after a quarterback here this offseason.
We'll bring who we think is, the best guy we can bring in. I'll say this about Joe Flacco. Joe can still play. I think you saw that. He had for a guy that's turning 40, still moves better than I anticipated, still can throw the freaking football and still can win games. In terms of the age and where it comes from, I'm not ready to stamp that right now. But look, we did it the year before with Gardner. We brought a guy in that played pretty good football for us. I thought Joe had his moments of playing really good football for us. I thought at the end he thought he played really good. So I'm not ready to target, where it'll come from or who it'll be or what age they'll be. I don't know that yet.
I have 4 or 5 names. What do you want to do? I don't buy that they're bringing in legit competition for Anthony Richardson. I don't know if they can. Can they?
What do you mean by that?
Well, okay, so if you're going to bring in, I think there's 3 lanes here. There is the lane they've been down with Gardner Minshew and Joe Flacco. And that's like a guy like Taylor Heineke is available, right? Like he's an unrestricted free agent. That would be going down a similar road, although I kind of think Flacco and Minshew might be better than him. But, to me, that's going down a similar road. He was with the Chargers backing up Justin Herbert this past season. And then the 2 names we've talked about that would push Anthony Richardson, guys that have been starters for many years in the NFL, would be Daniel Jones and Justin Fields. I don't know how everyone feels about Justin Fields. I tend to think Daniel Jones is going to be the backup in Minnesota. They went, they got him. They can sign him to whatever deal. J.J. McCarthy coming off the ACL injury. They move on from Sam Darnold. Why would they let Daniel Jones go? But I'll throw out there Justin Fields and Daniel Jones. And then there are 2 young guys that have not had success, that have been bust, that are available. And the 2 names we haven't talked too much about would be Trey Lance and Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson being the 2nd or 3rd string quarterback there with the Denver Broncos this year, obviously fell into the malaise that has been the New York Jets. And we know about Trey Lance getting moved to Dallas after having a tough start, being drafted so high in San Francisco. So those are the names I'm throwing out there. The reason I'm skeptical is the benefit of having a quarterback like Richardson on his rookie deal is you're not spending a lot of money on a quarterback. So are you telling me the Colts are going to spend, Sam Darnold this past year, and he's going to get more money, but Sam Darnold this past year signed a $10 million deal. The kind of the number I've had in my mind, would the Colts ever spend around $10 million to bring in legit competition? And again, that would go back to, would it cost you that much for a Daniel Jones or a Justin Fields? And then if you did pay someone close, around 10 mil, you're paying Anthony Richardson 9 and change, you're going to have about $20 million in your quarterbacks, which is more than you've had the last couple years. So I don't know if they mean it. I don't know what competition looks like. And on top of it, I don't know who they could get and how much money they want to spend. Do you have any idea?
Well, I actually think they will add someone of note. Flacco made what, $8 million?
I thought it's closer to 5.
I thought with him playing out.
Yeah, his base salary was 4 or 5, but
was 8.7.
Yeah, but he probably ended up making more. Right.
So I think, I guess where I'm torn on it is like, what exactly do they need? Do you view it as, I guess Fields of the names you maybe mentioned was like the most legit-ish. Darnold, I think Darnold is going to be, hey, I'm coming in here and I'm taking the first starting reps.
And he's going to cost, even though he failed the last 2 games, he's going to cost more than these other guys.
I don't think the Colts are necessarily looking at it like that. Like I
Agreed.
I don't think they're viewing it quite in that light. Now again, what does Justin Fields want? Does he look at Pittsburgh and say, guys, this is a pretty good situation for me? I mean, got a great defense, pretty stable franchise. Russell Wilson ain't getting any younger. I might want to be here. So I think that's something you have to keep in mind as well. I guess where I'm torn is this. I have long been a believer that Band-Aid quarterbacks get you nowhere. Get you absolutely nowhere. And I just have a disdain towards them.
I agree.
I think investing in backups makes sense, but like trying to play the Band-Aid game, i.e. Sam Darnold, Darnold had a great season, but I think in the end, when games really mattered, you kind of saw his true colors, and I just don't think he's necessarily the right answer. Now, given that, I don't want to act like just because you have a young quarterback or you draft a young quarterback, it means that you find the right one. You got to go out and find the right one. But, you can do that. I mean, you saw two teams that, got in the playoffs this year with rookie quarterbacks and not, outside of, I know Jayden Daniels was the second quarterback taken, but Bo Nix had a lot of guys go above him and yet still played really nicely as a rookie and got in the playoffs. So where I'm torn is this. Do you want to invest in a serious competition quarterback and continue to be in the middle of the NFL? And I know that's a kind of a loser mentality to bring up, but does it do you any good to be drafting? I mean, let's say next year they have the same exact year they just had, and they're drafting 14th overall. But yet
God
you
bless
had
us all.
Daniel Jones come off the bench, and you went 3-3 in the 6 games Daniel Jones played.
Which is about what you would be.
That's what, and again,
listen,
I know
I'm with
that's
you.
some loser stuff to say, but that's where I've just long been a believer that you have to draft and you have to develop and you have to try and create a 5 to 7 year window with a young quarterback. The rookie contract is uber beneficial. I think you're seeing the Houston Texans be an example of what they're able to continue to add and withstand with C.J. Stroud, for example. The Commanders made some notable moves in the offseason. Denver's in a weird cap situation, but it helps greatly that, again, that Bo Nix is on this rookie deal. And I don't know. I'm not trying to fall into the tank for Arch camp that I know some people probably are living in a little bit of fantasy world out there. But I just, judging by the Ballard answer, Andy, I don't know what they want. I think they want legit competition, but do you need also the mentor? Or are we just kind of done with that? Are we so fed up with Anthony Richardson that it's just screw it? That guy doesn't need to be babysitting him. Because Flacco wanted no part of it. Flacco wanted no part of that. And the question becomes does that position need to be more of that type of person? Or do you say, screw it, Anthony, you got to figure it out on your own. It's year 3. We're not going to handhold, for lack of a better phrase, and see what happens.
Yeah, I'm probably more of the, it's not that you want or don't want a mentor there. I don't think it's feasible. I don't think you can find it. Any of the names that we've mentioned, even at the very top, to a guy like Sam Darnold, to a guy like Zach Wilson, all these guys want to play. And Joe Flacco.
Are the McCowns still not trying to play football anymore?
That's great. I mean, Heineke might be different, but I just think he is so washed. These guys want to play. What
about Jacoby?
No, that's a no for me.
He's doing progressive commercials.
What
now.
I would offer
Andy Dalton
is Sam Ehlinger.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't Sam Ehlinger that guy to Anthony Richardson? Isn't he the mentor, friend type of guy to Anthony Richardson? That's how I view it. AR talks so glowingly about how Sam had helped him that season. A name that I don't care for, and KB, you're going to disagree with it, and so is Mark. I just don't care about having Jameis Winston around. He's fun. He's somebody else's fun. He's fun for, he's a trip to Vegas. He's fun for a long 3-day weekend with the guys, but eventually after losing $2,500, losing your wallet because you were drunk and falling in love with a stripper named Cinnamon, you want to get home and just be in your own bed.
Named Cinnamon?
Okay, you just want to.
That was very specific.
Yeah, you just want to be home. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? That's a little bit of Jameis. It's great. He comes in, he'll win a game, he'll throw for 315, and then in 2 games he'll throw 7 interceptions, and eventually Steichen will bench him, and we'll be back to Sam Ehlinger or Anthony Richardson.
Jimmy G.
Yeah, where's he at?
He backs up Stafford.
He
right?
backs up Stafford. He hasn't played at all. I'm not really high on Jimmy G. He crushed Broad Ripple. He'd have a good time at the bar scene.
Don't think Jimmy G's doing Broad Ripple. I think he's more doing
wherever he would go. Okay?
Wolfies on Geist or wherever.
I'm with you. I don't know what they would do. And
I mean, all these isn't it hilarious to talk these quarterback names? Every answer is met with
it's
such
crap.
It's
crap.
I know. I'm just praying for the Lord to deliver me from pick sixes.
I want that.
It ain't gonna
Come
happen,
on,
brother.
like every answer is met with that. And so I guess what we needed to find first is, what do you want? Do you want legit pushing of the quarterback? Do you want legit, like, hey, we feel like if Justin Fields starts 17 games, you can go 10-7 or 9-8. Like, obviously that's lofty. Is that the thought? Is the thought more, hey, this is Matt Hasselbeck for Andrew Luck?
Right.
You know, is it in that realm? Is it, guys, let Anthony Richardson sink or swim? Because if he sinks, at least we'll be drafting the top 5. I don't care about the backup. Band-aiding it up and trying to win 500 of a start, have a 500 record in his starts. Like, that's, I think, what needs to be defined first before, because all these names are different. Again, Fields is different than Winston, is different than Garoppolo, is different than Heineke. Like, all of them serve, I think, different purposes. Stylistically, do you want the same style quarterback? Are you trying to keep it smooth? Obviously, Richardson to Flacco led to very different offenses. So that's where I have a level of confusion in all of this. And again, if the voices aren't going to change with Richardson, and right now it looks like they're not, that quarterback voice is going to change, it looks like. Could that be beneficial in any way? If Richardson finds a connection with this new backup quarterback, does that help? It's probably very lofty to expect that, but that would be another thing I throw out there. You hear oftentimes from these quarterbacks that their connection with the backup was beneficial to them. I don't think Richardson's ever said that about Joe Flacco.
He hasn't. He's only talked about Sam. That's it.
So, is that something? Or are you just sick and tired of the babysitting and you say, screw it, we're not doing that?
Yeah, see, I think here's the question I would have for Colts fans, and I think I know how you feel. In fact, I know how you feel. And that is, if you spent a little bit more money and you were solid at the backup spot, Richardson is missing time. We agree with that. Like, I feel like we can write him in. He's going to miss a month of the season or so. That's how I feel. Does it matter if you're a playoff team but have no shot really in the playoffs? Does that make sense? Or does it matter if you're a 9-win team and you just miss things? Does it matter? I mean, does it matter for Chris Ballard? Do they feel like this is the final hurrah? If I'm a fan today, what I would want is save money, spend $4, $5, $6 million, whatever you need, bring in another one of the same kind of Gardner Minshew, Joe Flacco guys, and if Anthony Richardson sinks, then you would hope after the season the change would be made, that you then go ahead as a franchise, understanding that Ballard cannot be here and that Anthony Richardson, most likely, you go into 2026 or whatever, feeling that he's not for sure. He's on your roster because he's cheap, unless somebody wants to trade and give you something, but he's not the starting quarterback the way he's been penciled in the last 3 seasons. Does that make sense? That's what I would, and that's not an Arch Manning thing. That's just say, hey, you gave it a try. You gave him 3 full years, and now regime-wise, we need to move on. The problem with that is Ballard signed through 2026. You tell me they win 8-9 games and miss the playoffs next year, that he's for sure going to be gone? We're probably going to have the same conversation we've had the last 2 years.
Listener Brian here, I need to take a shower after hearing those quarterback names.
It makes me want to vomit. I got to be honest.
And Ballard was high on Justin Fields in that draft,
Correct.
Was he not?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he was.
The only guy...
Cody throws out Tyrod Taylor, by the way. Like, does he satisfy kind of both of it? For what it's worth, Taylor is still under contract.
He's still under contract
with
the Jets, and I don't know what the Jets are going to do. So, like, if, Mark, you'll love this, Aaron Rodgers goes to the Steelers next year, the Jets got to play somebody. Is that Tyrod Taylor? Do they draft somebody? Sam Darnold would never go back there. Let me ask you this. You have any interest in Sam Darnold? On a 3-year deal? 3 years, $100 million. I'm just asking. I don't, but...
Well, he's starting if he's getting that.
Well, yeah, I mean...
Right. I don't, but again, I have a disdain towards the Band-Aids.
And he's not a total Band-Aid. He's kind of a Band-Aid. Because he's only 28 years old, and you would sign him to a 3-year deal.
He's a Band-Aid, but eventually you jump into the pool with the Band-Aid on.
Right.
So...
You hope it's waterproof, right?
Again, I don't want Sam Darnold. I want to be clear.
I I think you have to try and kind of shoot for the stars. That's where I've always been at quarterback. I get that you aren't always going to find that answer, but if you do find it, oh my gosh, you have something. And I mean, again, I don't think it's any secret the Final Four AFC teams are the same as the Final Four from last year.
Yep.
When you look at these 4 quarterbacks, and again, they're all drafted by these teams, and 3 of the 4 traded up. I can go on and on. But I think that is probably one of my bigger unknowns for 2025, Andy, is what will they do next to Richardson? What, again, is it age? Is it we need the wise leadership? Is it competition? I assume it's more veteran. Could they go draft? They sit there in round 3 or 4, and all of a sudden something happens and they go that route? I don't necessarily think, but I just think all avenues are open. And what they decide to go down will be something to keep an eye on. Again, reminder, Greg Rakestraw coming up here in less than 10 minutes. Pat Forde, national championship wise. I love seeing that we've already announced in the Granger and South Bend school districts 2-hour delays for Tuesday.
Oh, have they really? Well, that's a good thing to do.
Didn't we do that in the 765 for Purdue?
For some reason, I remember that being the case. Didn't the university itself do something on that Tuesday? Because, again, college basketball decides to tip off their national championship game at 9:15. Every time it kills me. What time is the game on Monday night? I know you'll be there. You'll be liquored up. So
7:45-ish. 7:30 is what they say, but then pregame, will bleed into like 7:45.
Yeah, me and Mark are worried about you. Really.
Yeah, those prices aren't going down.
You and this ticket, we're worried about you. Just a little bit.
Flight will leave Sunday, hopefully, Sunday afternoon. By the way, I have something to show you guys later.
Oh, God.
Oh, boy.
I
7:30.
may have already gotten a hint of what it could be.
Okay.
Someone slid into my DMs and said, be wary of Kevin tomorrow.
Oh, wow. So someone kind of tattled.
Wow.
Okay, well, they didn't sneak into my DM, so I have absolutely no idea.
I got Notre Dame shirt on. What do I have underneath?
Okay.
Oh, I got my Indy Ignite volleyball shirt on. Nice 3-set win last night. Caitlin Clark in the building. Yeah, I've got pants on.
So it has nothing to do with the clothing,
I've got
then?
boxers on. Here are my boxers. I've got boots, Notre Dame socks. I got a new foot insole. I tell you, I went to the foot doctor yesterday.
Yeah, so what happened with your foot? Are you having issues?
They say I got arthritis in the right big toe.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Is that gout or is that arthritis?
Nothing like the doctor saying, yeah, if you showed me this x-ray and asked me what age this person was, I would have said 55.
And it's not like you work outside or you've been a big-time athlete to where you've been working that big toe.
Well, judge for yourself.
Right? Does golf do that? Does walking to the golf cart and flying off to the next hole, does that give you gout? And not that it's gout, but it's arthritis.
Yeah, she's gout. Gosh, you keep on going
there.
there.
Gout's worse. Yeah, gout is an old man thing.
It is an old man thing.
Yeah, I don't.
And it's painful, I hear.
I don't think I'm there. So yeah, I'm gonna wear this.
Are you okay then?
And
so you have an insert. What about better shoes? Like, are those boots? Like maybe you need some.
I know.
You go spend $150 and get some Brooks running shoes or something like that. That's what you need.
I think they said the Hoka shoe.
Oh yeah, that's very popular. It's very popular.
Every time I go to Disney World, that's all you see is shoes running around.
Well, I mean,
are they
they're
expensive? Should I buy one?
Yeah, I think they're up there.
Yeah,
they're not crazy.
You're going to spend over $100, and the feed store, many other places, they'll tell you the exact shoe you need. If you have a wide foot, they'll have a couple different kinds. That's probably what you need to do, man.
$115. If you're spending money at the national championship, Kev,
what's $115?
Do all of them say Hoka right here on the side?
Yeah, most of them do. Yeah.
Is there a Nike shoe that doesn't have the swoosh? What are you talking about?
Well, I mean, yeah,
that's a good point.
I think the swoosh a little more discreet than the old HOKA.
Yeah, but they're the hot shoe. So if you get them, you're going to be very much in style.
All right.
For sale. Well, boy, I feel bad for you. The back and now this.
It's
not
old.
good. You are getting old. You're breaking down quicker than I am. That's not good for you. Let's take a break. Greg Rakestraw, he joins us on the other side.
We're in the top of the ninth, leading 10-7. Bases loaded, 2 down. And Rick Vaughn has come on to try and nail it down against Felipe Aguilar, a dangerous right-handed batter. Here's the pitch.
Best things about being an ex-big leaguer is getting freebies to the game. Call the front office, bingo. And once these fans recognize me, I probably won't even have to pay for my light beer from Miller. Down it, rock! I love them. These fans know I drink light because it's less filling and it tastes great. Good seats, huh?
You're in the wrong seat, buddy. Come on.
Oh, I must be in the front row.
Come on.
Vaughn into the windup in his first offering. Just a bit outside.
Well, my Monday was amazing. About 10 hours in total with our next guest, Greg Rakestraw. Unbelievable effort behind the wheel from Rake. Really a solid driver. Just nothing flashy. Efficient. Gets it done. Doesn't put himself in risky situations.
I'm trying to think who he would be if he were a basketball player now.
You know what?
Just a good, safe player. You don't have to worry about this person not doing the. Is he Aaron Neesmith or not Aaron Neesmith? Is he Andrew Nemhard?
I think he's a trustworthy. Honestly, let's go with the Indy 500 comp. I think he's Connor Daly.
Okay.
Great on the ovals. You know he's going to turn 200 laps. Certainly a fan favorite. I mean, hell, we're going through Bennett's Switch or Arcadia, and he's looking over and sees some dude looking up at a billboard. He's like, oh, I know that guy. Should I call him? It's exactly what you want in somebody behind the wheel. Greg Rakestraw, good Friday morning to you, sir.
Good morning, and AJ Witham of Sign Production looks kind of perplexed at his own billboard. I'm like, you own that billboard, AJ. If it's yours, you're in good shape. So look over and like, yep, I know exactly who that is. Yeah.
I don't think we ever got a name on Tuesday
AJ,
when you were talking about
Rake?
it.
AJ Witham is the gentleman. I'm sure he's listening to the station right now.
Gosh.
Absolutely.
It was great. Well, thank you. I had a blast. It was freezing as hell. The drinks were needed. Wonderful time. The walking taco was excellent. Ted Valentine was on the call, and most importantly, the company was tremendous. So thank you, Rake.
And again, your Irish played significantly better than it against the Citadel a year ago.
Amen to that. Amen to that. They pulled away in the second half there and got the best of Boston College. I assume you've got some Southport action coming up here this weekend?
Correct. So Marion County semis are tonight, the all-Mick edition, Ben Davis and Lawrence North, and then Pike and North Central, and then the championship game tomorrow night at 7 o'clock.
Some juicy ones right there, Rake.
Well, you got Lawrence North of that group, I think, is clearly the best team. Now, Warren Central beat them last weekend and nearly beat them again on Wednesday. They played each other in the quarterfinals. It's Ben Davis without Mark Zachary. Ben Davis has been playing very well, and Mark will come back, I think, sooner rather than later from that thumb surgery. Pike and North Central have been up and down. Pike got off to a great start and has struggled lately. North Central's been hovering around 500 most of the season. And so, I think it's a blind draw, and the road maybe is a bit more rugged in front than it is at the back end for Lawrence North. But Lawrence North is the clear favorite in the Marion County tournament this year.
Greg Rakestraw with us on the Payless Liquors hotline on this Friday. Greg, I've asked you this, a couple weeks into the season on the football. Obviously, we're much further into it on the basketball side. Thus far, mid-January, the biggest surprise in high school hoops is who? And the biggest, I guess, disappointment is who?
I'm not even sure if I would go surprise and disappointment. The story you've heard me talk about throughout the course of the season is just teams dealing with injuries. And some of that is starting to wane. Mark Zachary is going to be back soon. Obviously, down in southern Indiana on your end, a player like Trey Singleton, is starting to work his way back into the lineup. In terms of a surprise, and again, I just mentioned them a couple of times in terms of the fits they gave Lawrence North. Warren Central, I think, is going to surprise some people as the season goes along. They have been really solid this year, especially since Javon Guest kind of rejoined the fray for the Warren Central Warriors, during the course of the season. So they're a good team, probably a team that doesn't get talked about a lot. They could fit as a surprise. But in terms of 4A, everybody is chasing down Fishers at this point now. Is Fishers unbeatable? I don't think so. Is Fishers unbeaten this year? Absolutely, so far they are. So that's the team everybody is chasing at this point. Warren Central might be the team that could be in the mix that people weren't talking about going into the season.
He is Greg Rakestraw. You know that voice quite well. He's with us here on the Payless Liquors Hotline, ISC Sports Network. It is, of course, a busy month of January, calling a whole lot of hoops here for Greg. Greg, obviously when you saw the news yesterday of the passing of Bob Uecker, I thought to myself, oh, this will be something to ask Rake tomorrow. And that, who did you grow up listening to?
Well, because of being a Reds fan in southern Indiana, you would listen to Marty and Joe. Because I was a University of Louisville fan, Van Vance, the voice of the Cardinals back then. And even though I wasn't a Kentucky fan, because their games were just as ubiquitous as the University of Louisville games, Haywood Ledford and the University of Kentucky. And Haywood was their voice from the early 50s through 1992 the Leitner shot game of all games for the University of Kentucky play-by-play guy to retire, that was the last game that he called in 1992. It almost felt sad for him. I'm like, really? That's the way you go out? That shot is the way that you end your career after 40 years? So from a play-by-play standpoint, those were likely the most influential voices that I heard.
Is there anybody? I mean, obviously you're busy as hell these days. Is there anybody that you try to go out of your way to listen? I mean, you and I were listening to Kevin Harlan and Kurt Warner on the way home Monday. I thought that was a great listen. Anybody that you try to listen to today?
I wouldn't say those that I go out of the way to listen to. I mean, there's obviously the guy that just won the Indiana Sportscaster of the Year for the 9th millionth time in Don Fisher. All of us take things from Fish, whether we think about it or not. You would say the exact same thing about Mark Boyle. There are things that we all take from Mark, whether you mean to or not, because he's been doing this so well and for so long here in Central Indiana. A couple of other names that I would say, I listen to them and I go, they're really good. Again, you had Kevin Harlan. Kevin Kugler is tremendous. And Kevin does a lot of radio, but now is starting to do a little television. I think he's outstanding in both. But Kevin Kugler is a tremendous listen to. And another guy who, again, vocal style's a little bit different, but I think he's a really damn good play-by-play guy. Dan Horde over in Cincinnati does a tremendous job with the Bengals and the Bearcats.
Greg Rakestraw with us here on this Friday, 93.5, 107.5, The Fan. You mentioned Fish, so I was going to go Colts, but let's go Hoosiers. I mean, Rake, I've only been here in a year and a half, but even in Louisville, I did the show so many times on Indiana basketball being disappointing. I expect them to lose tonight, to Ohio State. They've been blown out the last couple games. I don't know, if you were hosting a show after some of these games, what would be your takeaway watching Indiana struggle, Mike Woodson sit there, and the fans leave or chant for him to be fired?
My takeaway would be the same thing that Kevin and I were consuming at the Morris Inn on Monday night. A couple of old fashions would have helped.
You're damn right.
In terms of digesting that. I think the margin for error is less for Indiana these days because the advantage is so pronounced from a name, image, likeness, payroll standpoint. I've got a great friend of mine because obviously the Fire Mike Woodson chants and the Fire Mike Woodson debate has been raging on sports radio and on social media. But I've got a very intelligent friend of mine who has been quick to point out in these arguments the last few days, hey, listen, Mike Woodson's winning percentage is better than the 3 or 4 guys in front of him. That's an accurate statement. It is. But at the same time, I think more is expected now of Indiana in the current environment because instead of us saying, well, they've not done this for 30 years, we talk about things like payroll and budgets. And again, you can count on one hand or two in terms of those that have the ability to spend more money on their men's basketball program than Indiana University does. On another show, I used the phrase that IU should be the bluest of blue bloods for that exact reason. And, of course, because, reading and listening comprehension may be at an all-time low in terms of the human race. I says, what are you talking about, blue bloods? They've won one. Exactly. That's where they should be. And now that's history and tradition because of straight cash, homie, because of cold, hard money. And Indiana seemingly didn't figure that out last year. We're all bemoaning that fact. They figured it out this offseason, and it's the same crappy product that it was a year ago. So for all of those reasons, why I think that the seat of Mike Woodson is flammable at this point.
Rake, we decided, I think I was actually probably maybe just north of Plymouth. We were probably approaching, honestly, probably the outskirts of St. Joe County. We decided that post-Milan, the smallest school to make a Final Four in single-class basketball, and when I say we decided, I just listened, you came up with Argos, correct?
Yep. Say it like a local, Argus. But make
Argus.
that you. There you go.
Argus.
Even though it's you said it how it is, spelled, Argus, got to Hoosierize it.
Yeah, I know. I definitely need to work on that. A couple questions here in the YouTube chat. KB says, is Rake the Jeff Foster of driving? I think that is a very
I'll take that as high praise.
Apt analogy. That is tremendous there. Kristen is curious, what is Rake's 31 North speed? Care to share, Rake?
Sure. I set cruise control at 10 miles an hour north of whatever the speed limit is. So on the Kokomo bypass, that's 75. On the new freeway part of 31 that avoids the major metropoli of Lakeville and La Paz, also 75. In places where farm machinery could potentially turn in front of me, 70.
He's got the plan. He's exactly
the
right.
man wasn't born yesterday.
You go 10 over. If you get to 12 or 13 occasionally to pass somebody, that's fine. But understand, you're rolling the dice. At that point, you're rolling the dice.
10 like Jeff Foster. Exactly.
Look at
it's
that.
very safe in boxing. That's how you get it done.
Unbelievable. Tennis tomorrow morning, doubleheader, or doubles for tennis, little doubleheader at Marion, I think in the afternoon, and Southport at night. Do I have that right?
You have it correct. So a triple and a half header, 3 games to call, and then me just largely telling my partner, hey, nice job in playing tennis doubles tomorrow morning.
And he's watching the Australian Open, if he can mix that in as well. Rake, thank you, sir, for operating on Monday, and have a great calls, plural, this weekend.
All right, see you, fellas.
Greg Rakestraw right there, Payless Liquors Hotline. Shout out to listener Justin, who we met in the building on Monday night as well. It was a good chat with him.
Did he send anything in, or are you just giving him a shout-out?
No.
Okay.
No,
I didn't know if he added something to the...
giving him a shout-out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I hope he's listening then.
Yeah, enjoyed chatting with him, and Greg Rakeshaw's got a busy weekend per usual.
Well,
here.
we should have asked Argus. We should have asked what the enrollment was. I didn't even think about it. Weren't we debating that?
I thought Rake had kind of couple hundred.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
I thought maybe a little less than 300. Again, someone out there
50 per class
or
so.
Yeah, but it was just, I just love, gosh, he's just such an encyclopedia. I love him. I love him.
Well, there you go.
It's an annual tradition.
You guys had a good time.
I thought, we auction off the back seat. Who did I say was going to ride in the back seat?
Oh, goodness, who was it?
Oh, it was Wink Martindale.
Yeah, it was
riding shotgun, right?
It was Wink Martindale. Yeah,
you were sitting in the back seat.
Again, Wink Martindale is definitely dipping. He's spitting into a Diet Mountain Dew bottle. There's no doubt about that. He's eating something fatty. He's a man. That's what Wink Martindale is. He's a man.
If we gave Wink the wheel.
No,
Can you imagine?
You're not doing that because he's drinking more than a couple.
Hey, we'd go from our area in Indy to South Bend in about an hour and 42.
You'd be there in 90 minutes.
Can you imagine?
No, Wink's...
State police would just be hounding him.
Wink's going to have more than... You guys control yourself. You have a couple old fashions, and then you go many hours before you get into the car and
they
drive.
They don't serve alcohol at the Notre Dame
and of course,
event.
they don't even serve alcohol at the Notre Dame Stadium there. So
you guys,
that's not going to be Wink Martindale.
Wink Martindale's not drinking old fashions. He's probably give me the bottle of bourbon.
He's like a halftime going over to the linebacker. Boys, I got something to show you.
All right, so show me what you got there. Oh boy, I see it. Oh boy.
Get home yesterday, Maddie goes, got something in the mail.
Mm-hmm. So she was taken by surprise that it showed up
I
yesterday.
would say if we had to do a box ratio in our house,
Wow, yeah.
I don't know if you guys could speak to this as well, but I mean I would say probably 9-1. Maddie, maybe even higher than that, honestly. So small box, open it up. The size says medium. Am I a medium?
Okay.
Would you like to see what's in the box?
So this is no offense.
What's in the box?
This is no offense to you, but a large has shrunk a little bit. Mm-hmm. So if you used to be a large, you're probably an extra large. So are you a medium?
I know. I'm a little nervous.
You're not a medium.
Boys, I never thought I'd be
there it is.
Showing you this, but my vulnerability at the age of 35 is alive and well. Here it is.
It's becoming real.
The Kelly
that's horrifying.
Green Speedo.
Oh, that's horrifying. I mean, it's a nice Speedo,
for
but
the YouTube stream, I believe that's the front, right?
Yeah, that's the front.
Now,
I hope so.
Yeah, that's the front.
I do like we got some ability to kind of tighten it up here.
You actually might be a medium then. Yeah.
There's the back, in
And
case anyone was wondering. So here it is.
Oh, boy.
The gorgeous green Speedo. Listener Mark, thank you.
My intel was correct. That's what he told me.
The brand is there, Speedo Endurance. This looks like, and again, Notre Dame tweeted out yesterday, they'd like to paint Atlanta green. So I think it's very fitting that our voting audience out there went with that. Should I try it on in the bathroom during the break?
Yeah, sure. We're going to probably...
Is this something we should just wait,
well,
hold off on?
You can, but again, around 8:30 is usually when the clean lady shows up. So
you can hide behind the TV or something.
Make sure you lock the door just in case.
So she's right on cue. There she is. Just walked by.
Did she walk by?
Yeah.
It's usually 8:15, 8:30.
Boy, I feel like Jeremiah Johnson looking over my shoulder for Isaiah Stewart last night.
Now, have you tried this on at home?
No, I've
No.
not. I've not.
Say, did Maddie
now
get
I'm
a
looking
show?
at the tag. The tag's 36, which I've kind of elevated a little bit lately here.
Okay.
The dad bod's
Well,
kind of grown. I
yeah.
like to chalk it up to hibernation in the winter.
Yeah. That's what I always
So,
say. And then I don't
I'm
do
hoping
anything in the
draw,
summer.
the drawstring will help out.
Yeah,
Boy, now
it
I'm looking
should.
at it. It's a little, I shouldn't debate the Speedo material here, but it is a hair flimsy.
Well, I mean, that's the point of it. It's to be you're gonna swim in the water and you're not gonna be hampered by baggy shorts or anything else. You're gonna have a Speedo on.
It's good enough for Chris Giuliano. It's good enough for Kevin Bowen.
The question is, like, are you going to keep this afterwards? Like, I don't know. You guys
What,
going?
are
You
you
guys
auctioning
going?
it off?
Well, I mean, you guys go on vacation or something. You throw it in the suitcase. I don't know.
Barely used Speedo from radio hosts.
You
in
and
the
your wife, you
mid-market.
go to Mexico. Maybe it's an all-inclusive or
you
something.
imagine?
You throw it in just because it doesn't take up any room. And who
Hey,
knows?
Teacher's Treasures, I got a donation for you.
Rosie and Max never been prouder of Dad as he dips his toes into the ocean on a trip to Florida here in the green Speedo. You don't really blend in with this.
Your daughter in I don't know how many years is going to be horrified.
Oh,
in a few years,
Yeah.
4 or 5 years. I
As
don't know
she
the
should
exact.
be.
I don't know the exact age,
Right.
but she will be
But
horrified.
this is just the
at
start of
this.
Marcus Freeman's run. So
Well-
this could be an annual January 20th thing.
Well, that's the thing. I expect Notre Dame to be in the college football playoff. If you gave me the next 10 years, I'd say how many times? 4 or 5 times? I know it sounds crazy. They're going to expand the playoff in 2026. They're going to expand the playoff. It's gonna
Brian
happen.
from the shop has reached out. He has said that I need to wear Ohio State gear if Notre Dame loses. By the way, I'm seeing some of these national people tweet in. I mean, I'm seeing Notre Dame just getting their ass kicked in a lot of these scores.
Oh, are you? Yeah, you're talking like 34 to
like
16,
30 to 13,
28
and
to
31
10.
to 10. Are they going to get run out of the building?
See, you asked this yesterday. The kind of team they have, I understand if Ohio State is clicking, Notre Dame catching up offensively is not something they can do. But Notre Dame is also so good at the way they need to play. You know this, KB, the last couple months, especially in this college football playoff run, they've been good in that way, winning the way they need to play. They haven't been outed by any team. So if you think Ohio State's going to win, you think Ohio State's going to get up 17-0, whatever it is, and Riley Leonard's got to throw the ball a little bit more, and he's not going to be able to do it, right? That's the kind of the way it could happen, I guess. The recipe for disaster.
Yeah, I'm curious this, and I know we're kind of getting into the nitty-gritty of the exact game, but if you look at Will Howard this season, Ohio State's quarterback, I thought I saw a stat out there like 81% of the time he sees zone coverage, which you get it. I mean, look at Ohio State's wideouts. Why would you sit there and play man? Now, Notre Dame plays man. They play a lot of man coverage. Again, they're down their top 3 pass rushers. So, like, to create some pressure, they will blitz a lot, and they'll sit back in man. And obviously, they have hung in there. There are times in the USC game, certainly, where they did not hang in there. That is, to me, easily the biggest question of, like, do you have the ability to somewhat hold up in man and just make Will Howard look at different things? Throwing against zone versus man is different. Does that impact him in any way, shape, or form? That would be, again, last year I brought this up before. Notre Dame got the game ugly. 17-10 was the final score in South Bend, or 17-13, I think, in South Bend. And Marvin Harrison Jr. had 3 catches in the game.
It's exactly what they need to do.
An issue, though, is, one of those corners starts for the Chargers, and the other corner's out for the year, going to be a first-round, or was thought to be a first-round pick, and Ben Morrison. So, they're starting a true freshman at corner, and he's going to be matched up with Jeremiah Smith a whole lot. Again, and man, how does that look? It just, I pray for this more than anything. Just make Ohio State have to grind out drives.
Well, I think that's the point.
If Penn State had to grind out some, drives early on, that kept Notre Dame. Like, Notre Dame was holding on for dear life. They were not rake on the wheel on Monday. They were holding on for dear life in that first half, but you survived it. You weathered it. You got it to 10-3. Boom, halftime adjustments. You come out, you have the drive of your life to start the third quarter, and it's game on. If you look at it, Texas hung in there. I thought they made Ohio State grind some drives, and boom, here's a screen pass that goes for 70 with 20 seconds to go in the first half. That can't happen. If that happens, I'm going to cry.
I'm looking at Will Howard, and we need to move on to a check down, but I'm looking at Will Howard right now. How many times do you think he's been sacked? Tennessee, Oregon, and Texas. How many times do you think he's been sacked?
Yeah, I've cheated, so I know the number.
It's 2 times.
Yeah, 2 and what, like 90 pass attempts?
I mean, that's pretty crazy, is it
Right.
not? And Tennessee had none in their defensive line. I mean, they got first-rounders on that defensive line. Oregon didn't get to him, and Texas got to him twice. Just looking at his stats, I was surprised by that. Thinking back in those games, I would not have thought that would be the case. So Notre Dame is going to need that number to be, it's going to need to be like the Rams and the Vikings, right? Maybe not 9 times, but you're going to need to get to him 5 times during the game,
and you're gonna
something
have to
like
do
that.
what they have done really all year, and that's find the short field, find the extra possession. Georgia was the poster child of it. They've done it all year. Can they do that once again on Monday night? Do you guys want a picture of me in the bathroom, or you just trust my?
We're getting into territory.
You just trust my thoughts.
Come on out.
If I come out and say it fits, you guys will believe me.
Just do it. Get it over with.
We're all friends. I just want to make sure you guys are on the same page with me.
Take a bathroom selfie.
No, I'd rather you just come out here and
cleaning lady
show
opens
me
up
those
the door,
legs.
and I'm done forever. Today's my last show.
Oh, goodness.
Morning check down time. Good win for the Pacers. Let's start there.
Yeah, we'll go quickly here, but good win last night, like you mentioned, KB, for the Pacers, 111-100. That's your final in Detroit. One of the storylines from last night's game, Aaron Nesmith hadn't played since, November 1st. He was back in the lineup, and he started last night, 9 points in 9 minutes. Didn't play in the second half. Here's head coach Rick Carlisle on Nesmith after the game.
Very good. Very good. Obviously, fresh legs, that was evident. He moved well. He felt good. After the game, he's doing fine. So, we can build it from here.
Also, good news, Tyrese Halliburton played and started 34 minutes for him. Miles Turner, 8 threes in the win. Pacers and Sixers coming up Saturday on The Fan.
When he answered very good, I was watching that press conference. I thought he was going to stop there, and I'm like, boy, Dustin DePirac, we can shake hands because we've been there before. And then Carlisle answered, and you think it's got the opportunity to go a little bit longer, but then it abruptly stops.
I was worried on Tuesday when you go, how are you, coach? I'm okay. I was thinking, oh, man, Tyrese Halliburton's going to miss 3 weeks.
Andrew Nembhard's a hell of a defender. Cade Cunningham, 7-21 last night. Again, Joel Embiid, very iffy for tomorrow night. They continue to listen to day-to-day. He hasn't played in 6 games, though. Pacers, Sixers before they head to Paris. All right, tonight it is Gus Johnson giving us fake energy for Indiana and Ohio State. 8 o'clock on Fox. Indiana, a 7.5-point underdog. We'll see about Malik Reneau. Seemed like there was some thought that maybe Friday, if not Friday, I guess you look ahead to potentially Wednesday next week. So we'll see that. And no punishment for Umar Ballo, it looks like, as we sit here on Friday morning. No suspension from Indiana, no suspension from the Big Ten. And honestly, I would probably agree with that.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, whatever. You can run him in practice. I don't know. Mike Woodson's not going to do anything. NFL this weekend.
Running Umar Ballo? Is there a joke in that?
They're going to make him run. Do coaches make players run laps anymore?
All right.
Or is that something
Start
back in the
at one
80s
side
and
of
90s?
the bar and upstairs and run to the other side of the bar and upstairs and run back.
Go run around. Chiefs-Texans, 4:30 on Saturday, followed by Lions-Commanders. It all starts 3 o'clock on Sunday. Eagles, Rams, Ravens, and Bills. All right, we're going to take a break. KB, during the break, is going to try on the green Speedo. So I'm sure we'll get an update on that. Plus, what do we think happens in these 4 NFL games over the weekend? We'll do it next. Pat Forde at 9 o'clock. Appreciate you hanging out with us on this Friday on The Fan.
You see me passing by wearing my small swimsuit. You cannot believe your eyes, I'm almost nude. As I'm walking by, I'm shaking it like jello. Oh yeah, I'm confident in the skin that I'm in, and I will wear what I want this summer because I have been dieting like crazy. I'm on palio. I wear Speedos. When I'm at the beach, you see me wear my Speedos. Cover your kids' eyes cause I am wearing Speedos. I am feeling fresh like I'm an Mentos.
What in the world is this?
I wear Speedos. When I'm at the store,
What do you mean?
I've never heard this.
It's some Despacito like parody or something.
I thought it was Jack Black.
No.
You know, it was something with him.
That beat, I took 4 years of Spanish. I know no Spanish, by the way. I took 4 years in high school, and there was a song, Tango, La Camisa Negra, and I feel like that beat is the same beat.
That could be. We can play that on the replay, can't we? On the podcast, we're not going to be sued for that.
No, that one went over the
well,
air.
Is that one okay?
We sang Happy Birthday earlier in the week to Good Jimmy. We had
did.
Fulton.
That was a terrible version.
We had Fulton play Earth, Wind, and Fire on his ukulele for us yesterday.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Outstanding performance. The Speedo is currently on. I kept it on.
Oh, it's on right now? Okay.
I thought it's like kind of like a glove, and you're like a baseball glove. You're supposed to break it in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you want to get used to it. It's actually not a bad idea.
I'll tell you what, it was a little snugger than I thought.
Yeah.
I had to undo the drawstring. Boy, 36. Is my waist really getting to that level?
I guess here's the thing, though. It's supposed to be tight. I mean, it is.
Tight.
It's supposed to be, though.
I feel like a few more rolls kind of on my upper thigh right now than I usually have.
Swimmers aren't normal people. They're much more okay with, I guess nudity is the only word I can think of, or near nudity, than the average person.
Gosh, I just put one leg over the other, and now I can really feel it. Oh, man.
Plus, your thighs probably feel different against your pants now, don't they? Yeah, that's what I figured.
So this is a different feeling than I've had most days here.
Well, what if you go 4-0 in NFL picks this weekend? You're going to have to wear a Speedo every day next year, even though you picked the Colts you did a good job, right? I mean, weren't you like 12-5 or 13-4 or something like that?
By the way, shout out to Zaire Franklin. I know this was announced a little bit earlier in the week. Coca-Cola matched his contribution here to the Midwest Food Bank. Tackling hunger was a big initiative that Zaire had at the start of the season. He ended up with 173 tackles. He donated $44 to every tackle. Again, Coca-Cola matching that, so $16,000.
Wow.
Donated there to the Midwest Food Bank of Indiana. So shout out to Zaire Franklin for that. We have the Pro Bowl coming up, don't we?
Oh, yeah, the Pro Bowl games. And I don't know what they play dodgeball. I don't think I've watched them the last couple years. I got to be honest.
Quarterback like tic-tac-toe, or was it kicker tic-tac-toe?
Yeah.
Did they try that?
I didn't watch any of that. I still yearn for the days where they just put chalk on the end of the ball and Warren Moon went out there and tried to hit the moving target from 45 yards. That's what I want. Warren Moon versus Jim Kelly, 45 yards, crossing routes, put chalk on the ball, let's go.
I can get behind that.
Oh, come on. Tell me you wouldn't watch those if those came on TV.
Certainly.
Remember those?
Oh, yeah.
That's where it was at. John Elway versus Dan Marino. Now you get Gardner Minshew and I don't know.
Tyler Huntley.
Scoop. Scoop Huntley.
Yeah, you get Scoop Huntley and Gardner Minshew battling off in the Pro Bowl games. Come on.
Where should we go first? Popcorn, hardest, or easiest?
I'll let you choose. I mean, to me, I guess let's do popcorn. Is that okay?
Okay. I'm going Eagles-Rams.
Okay.
I know Bills-Ravens is the obvious one.
Yeah, that's mine.
But I've always had a little soft spot for watching the Rams. I love watching Stafford whipping around the yard. Sean McVay certainly is a very, very accomplished offensive coach. Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp get it done. I like Kyron Williams. And that defense, that defense looked outstanding on Monday night. So I think that's a sneaky one. The Eagles still got a bit of the weight of the world, I think, on them. Obviously, Green Bay didn't really hang in there too much there after that start. So I will go with my popcorn game being that first game on Sunday, 3 o'clock kick from Philly, Eagles-Rams. I saw Jared Verse mention how much he hates the Eagles fans, so that'll be a nice subplot to that.
I did see that. By the way, a follow-up on a story yesterday. Karl Anthony Towns, remember, he's a Knicks player now, and he wore the Eagles sweatshirt. You guys were fine with it.
Yeah.
I think it's an act of war. I did not know this. Middle part of the game, he took the sweatshirt off. Oh! You got a little coward there, and he took the sweatshirt off. Come on, Cat.
Well, he's a coward now? You said you wanted it off in the first
Yeah,
place.
you got to do better than that. If you're going to do it, you might as well just man up and just do it. In fact, wear it to the Madison Square Garden if you're going to do it. I'm going to agree with you. I'm using the Ravens and Bills on the other side. Philly won this game 37-20 when these two teams played earlier in the season. With 90 seconds to go in the first half, though, KB, it was 7-6, and then things just absolutely got out of hand. Philly is relying on Saquon Barkley to run the ball so much. 49.2% of their offense is from running the football. What worries me in this game, the Rams defense, bad on third downs, but I've been thinking about this game. I'm taking the Rams to go on the road and win this game.
Ooh,
I think
Andy Sweeney.
The Rams,
Carl Anthony Towns really
the
pissed you
Rams have a better coach. The Rams, Kyron Williams is not Saquon Barkley, but he's having a great season. And the passing game for the Eagles has been broken. They are a one-dimensional team. I mean, let's be honest about it. They are a one-dimensional team. All the A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts stuff, I think it puts serious pressure on what are they going to do with Nick Sirianni, who has won so many games, who has been to a Super Bowl. I think the Rams go in, and the story of the L.A. Fires and the L.A. team making the run is the Cinderella story. Give me the Rams. I'll take them to win the game straight up on Sunday.
I like that all three of our picks for the popcorn game are all different because mine is the Saturday nightcap with the Commanders and the Lions. It's also the most expensive game. If you're trying to get a ticket, you're going to be paying national championship prices. Not that extreme, but they are by far the most expensive tickets.
It's at least double the other games.
Yeah. Commanders, Lions, I think that's two high-powered offenses. The 9.5-point spread for the Lions, that's a bit rich for me considering the Lions' defense hasn't been very good and they've been just hampered with injuries. I'm really intrigued to see what Jaden Daniels and Jared Goff throw at us. I think it should be a very fun game, so I am very much looking forward to the nightcap on Saturday night.
My easiest game, I'm taking the Texans in the points. Kansas City, to me, I get that they're Kansas City, and I probably could very well look like an idiot when it's all said and done, but my Super Bowl pick at the start of the playoffs was Bills, Eagles, and so I just don't think Kansas City will be there. I think the one-possession games will catch up to them at some point. I get the long layoff. I think Houston has a pass rush that can do some things, and I think Derek Stingley Jr. is a great, great corner as well. I don't think Mahomes has been typical Mahomes this season, so I like Houston to cover here as my easiest game to pick.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs also, having been off for 23, 24 days, does that give, do they have a sloppy first quarter? And that would be good for the Texans to get an early lead. I think these spreads are too big. I would maybe tease a couple of them. I'm going to say the Lions eventually just overpower. Washington doesn't really have a great roster other than a couple guys on offense and obviously Jane Daniels. So I'll go Lions over Commanders, my easiest game.
I will go opposite of Andy and take the 9.5 that they're giving the Commanders, and I will take that because I think the Lions' defense has been beat up. And I think Jaden Daniels has something in him that maybe he steps up in those big game scenarios and can make something happen. I still think Detroit wins, but I think that 9.5 is a bit rich.
Well, so you guys differ.
Yeah, we do.
And that's why I'm going to say it's the hardest game because I don't know. I mean, 9.5 on the road, it just seems like a lot of points.
It
but,
is.
I kind of sit here a little bit like Notre Dame, Ohio State. If people are only caring about betting about that game, the line's very similar. I think it's dropped from 9.5 to 8.5. But if I told you Riley Leonard threw a pick six with 1:45 to go at midfield, down 4, would you be stunned? If I told you a rookie quarterback on the road in the NFL threw a pick six, down 4 at midfield with 1:30 to go, would you be stunned? No. So that's where I'm just torn on it of man, this literally could come down to end-of-game situations here, exactly how you say it playing out. So this, to me, is the hardest game to pick.
All right, so what do we have left?
The hardest.
The toughest game to pick? Oh, yeah. So it's Ravens and Bills for me. Just a couple things, reading some stuff. So, the Ravens, the last 8 games, are 4th in the NFL in completion rate. They're 2nd in yards per attempt, and they're best in the NFL in touchdown rate throwing the football. Now, the problem is they played Pittsburgh 3 times. They played Philly, the Giants, and the Browns. And so there's a couple bad teams in there. If you go back to that game in Week 4 in which the Ravens dominated Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, the Ravens defense played way more zone than they usually do. It confused Josh Allen. So I think that's one thing defensively. What do they do? I got to be honest. I don't know who wins this game. I kind of think Baltimore is going to win this game. This was supposed to be the magical season, the MVP season for Josh Allen. It's there in Buffalo. I think one thing I believe in the most, and maybe not the cold weather with Lamar Jackson, but in playoff games where he's been bad, you've known it right away. You've seen it right away that he's not throwing the football at a high clip. Zay Flowers probably won't play. Sean McDermott has kept Lamar under 170 passing yards the 4 times they've met. Early on, the first couple possessions, if Lamar has a turnover, if he's kind of air-mailing players, skipping a pass on the passing game, realize that his throwing game is not there. If that's the case, I think Buffalo wins. But, boy, I don't know which way. I'm not touching this game on Sunday night.
Yeah, that's why it's my hardest game as well. It's the closest point spread of the weekend, and it's the 2 front runners for MVP going up against each other. I'm going to sit back and enjoy it, but I'm not going to bet it because I don't know which way that game is going to go. So Bills and Ravens to cap it off on Sunday night, that is the hardest game.
The fallout from this game, Lamar loses, Lamar not winning in the playoffs is going to be so damn loud. And then
isn't it for both quarterbacks?
Well, it is. And then Josh Allen, on Monday, we are going to have a conversation that is going to be harsh about either Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen, the 2 guys who have battled for the better part of the entire season about the MVP. And then we got to take a break. Last thing for me in this game, whoever wins this game, you have to wake up the next morning and get ready for Kansas City. This is not, hey, win and go to the Super Bowl. This is, you're going to, that's why, to me, that's a legacy game. No, beating Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, that's a legacy game.
Boy, I'll tell you what, boys, if the Bowens ever want to try and have a third kid with this Speedo on, I don't know if I'll be able to with some of the circulation I feel it's getting cut off right now.
Imagine when you're running around the circle on.
I'm gonna have to walk
Wednesday.
around the studio here during just to loosen myself up.
Okay, we'll get more on the Speedo as we go. Reminder: Pat Forde gonna join us coming up at 9:00, and then as KB has his Speedo on, there's a story in the NFL that might not be good for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. I saw a report yesterday. So how's that for a tease? We'll get to that on the other side. It's a Football Friday, 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
Well, over 10 minutes, the great Pat Forde will join us here. Talk some national championship coming up Monday night from Atlanta. That is Notre Dame and the Ohio State. Boys, January 17th, 2024. Any idea what happened 1 year ago today?
Oh, man. I feel like I should know. What happened a year ago
Local story
today?
that we certainly contributed a lot of time on it, and I would say last night, this is a man that we've talked about today, and he had a prominent play to kind of put the game on ice.
Oh, I feel terrible. I don't know what it was. Well, what, I mean, something Pascal Siakam-wise?
The trade for Pascal Siakam
Was it today?
Today.
I mean, I would say it's worked out for everybody. The Pacers are happy. He had 26 points last night. Siakam's a leader. He's been healthy. He's been good. He's been a leader. Has he not? He got a big contract in the offseason. I mean, it seems like that's a pretty good move for everybody, right?
Yeah, I remember when the trade happened, I called it lukewarm on my end. I think I said, OG Anunoby and just that defensive end of the floor is something that I think needed to be prioritized a little bit more. I think it's probably fair to say I was wrong on that. When you look at Siakam, 3 first-round picks for him, that was a healthy trade, obviously, what you had to give up. But, Andy, you mentioned a couple words there that do stand out to me. Obviously, he is a very gifted scorer. You can throw the ball to him and, hey, get out of the way, and more often than not, he figures it out. Might not look like the prettiest thing in the world, might look a little old-school throwback, but he figures it out. But the leader and the health, he's gotten to the age of 30, and so far, so good on that end, while a lot of other players on the Pacers have not had that same sort of health success. But it is that leader. And, a couple instances of it. One, you go back to the end of the season, I thought he had the Joe Flacco-type quotes that we heard at the end of the Colts season.
I agree.
I thought he had the honesty that was needed of hey, guys, we can't fall out of bed and think we're going to be here next year. Now, obviously, the Pacers struggled out of the gate, but I don't think I gave him enough credit as being a player that's won a title and just what that would bring. And then, two, we saw it the other night with Benedict Mathurin. When Mathurin, has that incident that clearly Mathurin crossed the line, who was it right there? It was Siakam. Post-game, who's on the podium with Mathurin? It's Siakam. I just think that is something I didn't acknowledge or maybe value enough when the trade happened.
Well, listen, I'm not trying to stick up for you. I know you were called a Debbie Downer and maybe some other things when the trade went through. We didn't follow him in Toronto, so we didn't know, you don't really know until these guys get there what kind of a personality they have. And he's got the perfect personality for a young and what you hope is an upcoming team. He does. He is steady. While he's not going to throw in a bunch of 40-point games, I know he's going to score 20, 22, 23 a game. I know he's going to grab 5-6 rebounds and be a leader and those sorts of things. So, listen, his 3-point percentage, I looked it up. It's the best in his career.
Year, right?
I mean, he's got up over 41%. He was 39%. I mean, since he has joined the Pacers, he has went up 8-9% percentage points in threes, and that's substantial.
And I think that's kind of a mature move by a guy that is, again, reaching certainly the latter stages of his career. How can you round out your game even more? Maybe that, and I don't think, it's not like Siakam's been some elite rim attacker and high-flying dunker. Again, he does things in a bit of an old school way, but he looked at it and said, okay, what potentially could I add to my game that can help me out? And certainly he has stretched the floor really, really, really well. For those that missed it last night, late shot clock, Pacers were still up. I think it was 7 at that point, but kind of had one of those feels of oh boy, if the Pistons hit one more shot, this could get interesting real quick. Sure enough, fade away, end of shot clock. Pascal Siakam puts the game on ice. So the 1-year anniversary of that trade today.
Yeah, I think it's a good one. I think Pacer fans are going to be happy about that. All right, I got 2 quick NFL stories before we get to Pat Forde here in about 10 minutes. You ready to go?
Yeah, and I took the Speedo off. Full transparency.
Yeah.
It was just, boys.
It was too much.
Man, it was cutting me up.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing. You're not going to need it if they win the national title and you come in here on Wednesday. You're not going to need to wear the Speedo for much longer and you're not going to be sitting in the Speedo. That's the real point. You're going to be standing up. You're going to be jogging or walking or whatever it may be.
I'll look like Cole Hawker.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Doing 20 laps when that's how much Notre Dame beats Ohio State by.
And the Rudy soundtrack in the background the whole time. So
that was one big tease. We never even got a peek. I'm disappointed.
Well, I didn't think you wanted to peek,
I was
Mark.
going to say, Mark.
I think you were kind of anti-peek.
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
I offered if you guys wanted a picture.
It was better than the bathroom selfie he was offering up.
I will say this. I'm not sure if I've ever looked and put my fingers over the door lock as much as I did in the bathroom as I just did. I think I did it probably 6 times in 90 seconds.
That bathroom door is a long way from like the sink in the toilet.
It
is very daunting.
view. It's a daunting view.
It really is.
Like,
yeah.
Man, this goes south. I'm in trouble.
It would be a good story for somebody, but not at least right now. We'll all laugh about it in a couple years. All right, so here are my 2 stories.
Some more than others.
Yes. So the like so the Bengals have like an SI site. The SI site, the Sports Illustrated Bengals site. And I don't know this individual, but I saw a couple people retweet it, so I said, you know what? I need to go ahead and click on this and tell KB about it. So apparently the Bengals are down, according to Dre Harris. And again, this was posted about a day ago. The Bengals are down to 2 guys for their for their defensive coordinator. Okay.
Don't say it's Al Golden.
Patrick Graham is one of them, and the second one supposedly is Al Golden of Notre Dame.
He was a Bengals assistant on their Super Bowl team.
Okay, was he?
From whatever that was, 3 or 4 years ago, a linebackers coach then. So that is not stunning.
It shouldn't stun you, but it also should scare you. I mean, he has been as valuable as an assistant as you can probably have, right?
If I see him in Atlanta, I'd like to give him a hug.
You're going to give him a hug. So that is one story. And then the second one, I think the media is trying to push, and I think ESPN is a part of it. They really want the Cowboys, Jerry Jones, and Deion Sanders to become a thing, do they not? Do you guys have an opinion on that? If Deion became the head coach, and would you want Deion to be the head coach for the Colts?
No.
See, I'm a no as well, but I'm a no because he ruined my childhood.
I want Deion right where he is. I think,
you think Colorado is his sweet spot?
I like having some entertainment in places that you don't usually get it at the collegiate level.
It's a good
to
point.
me, he's created a little bit of appointment television for Colorado.
Sure, he has.
Certainly is. I know the Cowboys are always going to be there. ESPN's always going to have them there. I mean, they are America's team. Look at any analytics. Everyone reads and watches and listens to everything they say. So I don't need more gasoline on that fire. I need a fire in a place that you don't usually have it.
Right.
So
it's a good point.
I feel like Deion creates that. And again, I don't think the Jay Wrights of the world, Andy, or the Jim Larenegas or the Mike Brays or something. But I feel like it's important for college sports to have some of these personalities from a coaching standpoint. That Calipari, I think, is certainly probably the poster child of it. A guy that I think is kind of a sneaky one that you would know is I feel like the Mick Cronin books are great right now. I mean, he's literally ripping his team. He's like, we haven't handled the Big Ten well at all. The Big Ten's tough as hell. It's physical, and our guys can't handle it.
He's a crazy man.
So I like crazy
nuts.
people in places that we don't usually get crazy. That's where I'm with.
I'll give you a great example. Bruce Pearl is at Auburn.
Perfect.
He that's a place that he has built that into a college basketball powerhouse. If he left and they went and got, no offense, a mid-major, a mid-major guy, and they paid him a couple $1 million, we would lose all the fun around Auburn basketball.
You are definitely this way. I'm fascinated by Belichick at North Carolina.
Oh, me too.
That is an awesome storyline for, again, college athletic. The NFL is the 1,000-pound gorilla. We know that the parity of that league is largely going to always have it atop.
So North Carolina did their photos, and Belichick and his girlfriend had a photo taken of him.
Oh, really?
And she tweeted
Can
out
I see it?
She tweeted out 2 people who are overtly committed to North Carolina football. Look at Belichick.
Man.
Dude, he's crushing it.
You care if I get a closer look at that?
Yeah, sure. Here you go. There you go. Yeah.
Boy, it almost looks like she's getting ready for the inauguration or something.
It does.
Jordan?
I would imagine it's just Jordan.
Now, is there an overtly? Is this like a football pun? Is this North Carolina? Belichick telling us all. My first words were beat Duke.
Well, here's the thing. A couple days ago, it came out, maybe even yesterday, that Belichick hasn't signed his contract in North Carolina yet.
I did see that.
So there's all this. Is he hedging his bet? And then, who did he hire along with him? Help me here. The
Michael
guy
Lombardi, GM.
Michael Lombardi then runs to ESPN or CBS and goes, no. He's committed. Belichick doesn't say it. Michael Lombardi says it for him. So everyone around Belichick is no, he's committed to North Carolina, at least for this year. I mean, he's hired 5 or 6 guys on his staff, so he better be committed.
Recruits? Have they portaled it up?
They've got a few.
Notable or just
no, nobody where I'm they got a 5-star who was going to go to Texas or something like that. So I'm super interested how he does there at North Carolina. All right, let's take a break. On the other side, he'll be in the building with Kevin Bowen for the national title game. What does he think happens? Who wins? And why? Pat Forde, he joins us next. Going to be a busy Saturday here on The Fan. We'll have Creighton and UConn coming your way at 11:30. Reminder, Pacers back at home there in Cambridge, right down the road. They got the 76ers into town. KB, didn't you tell us early Embiid's missed, what, 6 straight games?
6 in a row, yeah. So, they played Wednesday, and then again they have a back-to-back coming up on Sunday with Milwaukee. So a foot injury for Joel Embiid.
Yeah, not shocking there. So 6:30 on Saturday, you can catch that one on The Fan. Let's switch things up. We'll talk some national title game with Pat Forde, Sports Illustrated, SI.com. Pat, good afternoon. Good morning. How are you today, sir?
Hey, I'm well, Andy. Getting ready to head to Atlanta for the Northern Invasion.
I figured that's the case. Okay, so my partner next to me, Kevin Bowen, he's a huge Notre Dame fan, Pat. He is going to be in attendance, okay? He's got the Airbnb. He's got the flight. He's still trying to find a ticket that's not that expensive, but he's going to be there. And, Pat, if Notre Dame wins on Wednesday, he's going to run around the circle here in downtown Indianapolis in a green Speedo, and it's supposed to be about 13 degrees outside on Wednesday. What are your thoughts on those radio hijinks?
That's some radio hijinks, that's for sure.
We're desperate for listeners, Pat.
No, I hope it happens just for the spectacle of it. I'm not expecting it to happen, but there's renewed reason for all Notre Dame fans to dare to dream now.
Yeah, amen. Yeah, maybe run down to the Steak and Shake. I know you're very fond of the downtown Steak and Shake here in Indy as well.
Oh, yeah, the spiritual home of the Big Ten. Absolutely.
Pat Forde with us from SI. I don't know, from a story standpoint, the redemption of Ryan Day, big bad Ohio State wins the title after what happened to Michigan, the super NIL roster, or, Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame becoming likable again and Freeman becoming an elite coach. I guess, which is the more interesting storyline for you going into Monday's game?
Oh, they're both plenty interesting. I mean, we're not without storylines to work with here, that's for sure. The Ohio State thing is fascinating to me just because, I don't know, I've covered them a lot this year, and it really seemed like this season was either going to be glorious triumph or an utter crash and burn. And it might be both, because you lose the one game you can't lose, and you lose it in embarrassing fashion to the worst Michigan team in several years. But thanks to the 12-team playoff, you still have a chance to play for a title, and then they do it. They've been absolutely brilliant so far in the playoff. Haven't trailed for a single second in 3 games. Totally dominated Tennessee and Oregon, and then we're certainly the better team, although more competitive game against Texas. But the Notre Dame stories resonates as well. I mean, there were so many people, I think, that thought Notre Dame would never win a national championship again, that, the way they operated kind of become obsolete, antiquated, and they're right there. They're on the doorstep now. Could they overcome all the injuries? They have a true rock star coach at 39 who's on his way up, and, if he doesn't go to the NFL, at least not immediately, could have a great, great run there. But, I think just to see that Notre Dame still very much matters, I think has been a really interesting development as well.
He's a great Pat Forde. Of course, he'll be down in Atlanta for the national championship game coming up on Monday. 8.5-point underdog, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish against Ohio State. Pat, I enjoyed the piece you had earlier this week on just the historic nature to that Notre Dame loss to Northern Illinois. I must say it was a bit jarring when you threw in the financial figure of what Notre Dame paid NIU for that game.
Yeah, they paid $1.4 million to lose to a MAC team. And for everybody right then and there to give up on Marcus Freeman. Done, gone. And we do have 2 coaches that everybody at some point in time has completely given up on. But they've stayed the course, so good for them. But, yeah, if Notre Dame wins the national championship, that will go down as by far the worst loss a champion has ever endured along the way to a title. I mean, there's not much competition for it. There's, some games Notre Dame in 1977 lost to a 5-6 Mississippi team. But that was, that's an SEC opponent. So, to lose to a MAC team and come back and win it all just would be one hell of a plot twist, that's for sure.
I feel like you'd be a good person to kind of throw this off of because obviously you are such a college sport connoisseur, if you will, and you obviously have lived in this general area here for quite a while. I've made the analogy that like this Notre Dame run to me feels a little bit like Purdue back in March into April of, certainly a starving fan base. For Purdue, I kind of look at the Elite Eight win over Tennessee like the Notre Dame win over Georgia. Like, will we ever get to that Final Four? I know the Notre Dame-Penn State game turned out to be a thriller, but like it almost seemed like at that point it's a little bit of house money, and now it kind of is house money. Like you still look at this Notre Dame season and you think it's a success. And I don't know if Ohio State and UConn is apples to apples when you look at it from a men's basketball standpoint, but you see any similarities in what that Purdue season was and what this Notre Dame season has been so far?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good comparison. The one thing for poor Purdue fans, they've still never won it all. Notre Dame fans will say some of them may not have been alive the last time Notre Dame won it all, but Notre Dame's won it all a lot. So there is that. But and you go from a crushing, incomprehensible defeat, Purdue against Fairleigh Dickinson, Notre Dame against Northern Illinois, and you get better from it and turn around and have this spectacular season. And, yeah, you get to this point. And I do think for Notre Dame, getting over that SEC hump and beating Georgia was just huge because those are the kind of games where it used to be an athletic mismatch and, like, Notre Dame doesn't really belong, and that was clearly not the case. And, yes, Georgia had a quarterback injury, but Notre Dame, from a speed, athleticism, and playmaking standpoint, this doesn't look like many other Notre Dame teams, certainly none of the last 30 years. So they are a different level of athleticism. And I'm sure Notre Dame fans, yes, are tickled to be here. It'll hurt if you lose, but you did make a national championship game and really restore, I think, the relevance of the program.
Pat, what do you think happens on Monday? I think a lot of people nationally are obviously taking Ohio State to win this game and to cover the number.
Yeah, I think the number's a little high at 8.5. I think it's a touchdown game, so it's right there kind of on the edge. But I just think Ohio State has so many more ways to score, to stretch the field offensively. Notre Dame, Jeremiah Love can make game-breaking plays, as can Jadarian Price. But Love, we'll see how compromised he is. He made one of the most preposterous touchdown runs I've ever seen, but he's still playing on a bad knee, and he doesn't necessarily have that home run capability that he had earlier in the season. So, can Notre Dame find enough ways to score to keep up? Because even as good as Notre Dame's defense is, there's no way you're shutting out or holding Ohio State down to 14. So I think it's fairly low scoring. I think this is a 24-17 game. I think Notre Dame's secondary is good enough to cover Ohio State and to make Ohio State work for their points like Texas did. But I don't know whether they have the firepower to score enough to win.
Pat, last one from me. And again, Pat Forde with us here from Yahoo Sports. We appreciate his time before he heads down to Atlanta. Who coaches in the NFL first, Ryan Day or Marcus Freeman? Oh, Marcus Freeman, without a doubt. I'm not sure the world's necessarily clamoring for Ryan Day. He wins the title, it will help clear up some black marks on the schedule, or maize and blue marks, I guess I should say. But I think people still look at him and maybe say he's a little bit too much of a stress case. He may just be lacking a little something that Marcus Freeman would bring to an NFL locker room. Freeman's so not just confident but poised, and Jack Swarbrick, the former AD there once described, said his EQ is off the charts, his emotional IQ. And I just think he gets people, gets situations, and knows how to handle them. And I think that's a great quality for an NFL coach to have.
Well, if Notre Dame wins, Pat, you're going to have to go find Lou Holtz if he's on the sideline. He might be good for a quote or two late Monday night. Pat Forde with us, SI. One last one, we'll get you out of here. After you get, I'm kind of alerting you, but I'm also asking you a question all at the same time here, Pat. And that is, after the national title's over, I don't know if you're going to take a little break or vacation. I know you'll get hot and heavy into college basketball. At some point, are you already kind of thinking ahead that you might have to do the Indiana firing Mike Woodson column at some point?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I think it's sitting out there. We'll see. Maybe they can turn it around. But after this many years of kind of seeing similar things, the camp of supporters for him is dwindling, and the inability to maximize the roster is kind of a recurring theme. And so, I don't think anybody dislikes Mike Woodson at all, but he just didn't get the job done to an Indiana level. So I would anticipate, there were some people that wanted him out last year. He made it through to another season, might have cost Indiana some attractive coaching candidates, but there will be other ones, I think, if they have to do it this year.
Again, he is Pat Forde, and he will be in Atlanta coming up Monday night for, certainly in this area, a very highly anticipated national title game. Pat, safe travels down there. Thank you, sir.
All right, my pleasure, guys. Thank you.
That is Pat Forde right there on the Payless Liquors hotline.
Yeah, at some point, if you're following college sports and you're a national writer, you get ready for the Mike Woodson column at some point. Go ahead.
Just one thing on that, and I don't think we're necessarily here. Again, IU administratively, it's an entirely different discussion that probably needs to be had. And given that he's one of their own, I probably don't think they'd go down this route. But is there any benefit to a midseason firing in college basketball? And this goes for any sport, did the Jets get some great advantage by firing Robert Saleh after 5 weeks?
No.
And I bring up a couple things. Last year, obviously, Ohio State did it with Chris Holtmann.
Yep.
I would argue, maybe we just don't live in the Ohio State bubble enough, but that was a little surprising, like the mid-season aspect to it. Now, they ended up hiring the interim. I don't
listen. I'm with you. They could have waited to the end of the year. Sure.
I don't know if, but again, like hey, we unearthed Jake Diebler. I don't know if Jake Diebler is all of a sudden going to turn into something. This year's not gone great really at all. I don't think there's that on the IU staff. I don't know. I guess, how do you kind of view a college basketball midseason firing?
I want to be clear. I'm not against it. If Mike Woodson goes and loses 7 straight games and they're losing by 20 and they fired him, I would not shed a tear for him and say, you need to keep him around to March.
He's one of our own? You wouldn't go there?
No. There is a sense of, does it help you at all? And I don't think it helps you at all. So while I wouldn't cry about it, I also wouldn't care. And I think if you're building a case, it's kind of like the Anthony Richardson stuff we talked about in the 7 o'clock hour. Like, you want to play Anthony Richardson, you don't go sign Sam Darnold this year. You want to find out if Anthony Richardson in year 3 falls on his face and it doesn't work out and he's not your starting quarterback or a starting quarterback, then you move on. To me, you let Mike Woodson have the season. And if he's failing, you let him continue to fail. So you continue to build the case against him because, like you mentioned, there is going to be emotions there because he's one of their own. So I think it's even more that he's one of your own. You want to keep adding losses under his name.
Again, I don't think Woodson would do this, but in Notre Dame's case a few years ago, Mike Bray announced kind of at this point of hey, I'm done after this season. I guess that allows Jack Swarbrick to maybe feel not as messy in pursuing some of that. Again,
Woody's never doing that.
When I call Mike Woodson arrogant and lazy,
he's never doing
I don't
that.
think those qualities would apply to Mike Bray, and so I don't think he would do that. But in Notre Dame's case, I do think that created a bit of an advantage for them of like, okay, maybe you don't feel as messy on your end, but maybe the other agents or coaches don't feel as messy either of like, well, they've kind of told me that, or the guy has come out and publicly said he's done. So, again, I don't think we're there yet in Bloomington, but I mean, they got 4 or 5 on the road coming up.
Well, think about this. If Dusty May were still available, Dusty May would probably be fielding, and Mike Woodson was gone in the middle of the year, or he announced something like Mike Bray, then a guy like that might get some questions. But I don't think that exists anymore. I mean, I know, listen, if we ever get to this point, I know people are going to bring up Brad Stevens. I just think that I just think that is so comical, and it's never going to happen. There'll be somebody that will bring up Billy Donovan. I think it's comical. I don't think it's ever going to happen. There'll be people. Jeff Goodman's already done it from field to 68. He brought up Scott Drew. Scott Drew just turned down Kentucky. Indiana's fan base and Kentucky's fan base they may not like hearing this. They're very similar. They're crazy people. They are a fan base that expects to win and is ready to go at you if you don't win. And then we can get into guys like Chris Beard. Chris Beard is an interesting name. There's a lot to go. There's a lot of nuance that needs to be had with that conversation. But I think Mike Woodson saying, I'm going to step back after this year after they lost to Nebraska by 25 later in the year. I just don't see him. I hear when Kenny Payne got fired from Louisville, Kenny Payne did not thank U of L. He got a lot of money. He did not thank U of L. He did not post something on Twitter or anything. He has not said publicly a damn thing about it. If Mike Woodson gets run out of here, Mike Woodson will, for several years, disappear from Indiana. You will not see him around Indiana basketball. He won't thank anybody. He'll be out of here, and he'll go hang out with his family and take his cash. That's my opinion.
Yeah, Kirk
it'll be a bad breakup.
Kirk goes, it's beneficial if you have his replacement, would help with recruiting. Again, I don't think in any of these cases you ever have the replacement.
No, I agree. I agree.
It's not like Jake Diebler knew he had the job. I guess he kind of but I don't see any interim in Bloomington.
Well, I mean, Kentucky and Calipari, they separated, and they went after Hurley and they went after Scott Drew, and they ended up with Mark Pope, and that may turn out, great.
Plus the recruiting calendar is so different. Like, yes, Trent Sisley's a 5-star, and obviously you would like to keep him, but I think this has been a Mike Woodson issue. It's just the over reliance on the portal too. And then the guys that you've gotten in your own, you're unable to develop a CJ Gunn. You're unable to develop a Caleb Banks. You're unable to develop a Tamar Bates. And, mean, those are 4-star players that
right. You can't miss on all those guys.
No, I mean,
one of those guys has got to hit for you.
They're very important guys just to grow within your program.
Just one more thing on this, I'm not ready for it yet. But if this happens and it's going down a bad road, and who knows if it's this year or next year. Elite coaches, and Mike DeCourcy used to always scream at me about this, and we need to have Mike on. Elite coaches, or like someone like Scott Drew, leaving and going to a blue blood, even if it's in Indiana or Kentucky, it just doesn't happen a lot. You gotta, especially now, you gotta find. So you mentioned like Bruce Pearl. Like, I don't think Bruce Pearl is going to leave Auburn to go to Indiana. Indiana fans may not like hearing that. That is my opinion. So they've built something there. My point being, going and grabbing one of these guys at a lesser place isn't the move that you can really do anymore. That's why the Dusty May discussion, and them missing out on the chance of getting Dusty May, I think hurts some Indiana fans. It's why I throw out, and listen, I know there are people, because I'm off the court, that don't want this guy. And Indiana might not want the guy. But Chris Beard is the elite coach that is at a lesser than place that could move. I believe that.
Ole Miss, for those unfamiliar.
He's at Ole Miss, which is an outpost. You may say, well, they'll pay him a lot. Yeah, well, Indiana can pay a lot too. The Big Ten and SEC, those are the big two dogs that can pay a lot. To me, I think he's different because of the off-the-court stuff, and he is an elite coach that would have Texas being a 1 seed this year, not being an NIT team this year, and I would consider him maybe somewhat available. And guys like him in positions that he's in, they aren't out there in college basketball. They just aren't. When Kentucky got Cal, they got him from where? Memphis, right? When Rick Pitino came back into the game, they got him from the NBA. Getting these elite guys that are out there that are ready to jump from their job to your job, that is an uphill battle. That's why I think a guy like Scott Drew is just not going to happen.
One news item we haven't got to today, and I think if I can make the analogy to other sports, I think it's a little franchise taggy, maybe like exclusive rights franchise tag, which you let Lamar Jackson, we had the situation play out a few years ago of here's your offer, you let that player negotiate with other teams, but you have the right of first refusal. You see Kelsey Mitchell of the Fever, they cored her. That's the term the WNBA uses.
I looked it up this morning.
Seems like an aggressive term, but
it's an odd term.
Nonetheless, a core qualifying offer to her. So again, they have the exclusive negotiating rights. And whether we talk to Lynn Dunn or Kelly Kroskoff, they obviously made it very clear they wanted Kelsey Mitchell back. So in return, Mitchell gets a super max offer. This is a guaranteed offer, which is around $249,000 for this upcoming season. Now, you can be cored. I saw this for up to 2 years, but remember, Andy, we're, I think, in a debate right now from a WNBA standpoint of a new CBA possibly popping up.
Yeah, there's more money out there now.
Certainly, if you're Kelsey Mitchell, you might have second thoughts about wanting to be cored, probably more so for 2026 than 2025, but again, this won't really do a whole lot to the Fever's cap space and hamstringing them. I mean, think about it. Leah Boston and Caitlin Clark are still making really pennies on the dollar when you compare them to their overall impact. Obviously, Clark being the poster child of it all. So that news item yesterday, it looks like Kelsey Mitchell indeed will be going nowhere.
It's an odd term. I didn't know that term existed until last night into this morning. I had to read up on it.
It sounds like
it's a good deal for her, I guess.
It sounds like something like Max Bone would jump on me and core me in the side.
It's just
an
odd.
Damn, dude.
It's just an odd term.
28 months and you can do that?
It's just an odd term.
I think one of the odder things is Adam Schefter reporting that former Jaguars and Raiders coach Jack Del Rio has been named the head coach of the Paris Musketeers of the European League of Football, which I did not know existed. And so I was going down the rabbit hole. There are some interesting head coaches that have made the jump to the European League of Football, including
Mark Trestman.
No, he's shockingly not there. Former Colts linebackers coach Jim Herman.
Really? Yeah, I do remember Jim Herman.
Wow.
Yeah, okay.
John Shoop, Jim Tom Sula. Do you remember him?
Oh, yeah,
Tom Sula,
of course.
Sure. Was Shoop at North Carolina?
He was the former Bears offensive coordinator. I remember that was a disaster, and I believe, he was at North Carolina.
Boy, Mark, you're in a rabbit hole in this.
Yeah,
I know. I was
morning.
curious. I'm like, okay.
I thought you'd be with Belichick's girlfriend.
No, I was like,
well, who else? We got any other good names?
I was trying to see if there's any other ones that popped out that I noticed, but no. Some of them, there's a German coach. There's a Canadian coach named Jag Ball, which I'm kind of.
Man, that's
I think
a
that
name.
might be my team now.
Oh, that's fantastic. I wish my name was Jag
Sounds like a
Ball.
fantasy football team.
Yeah. So it's interesting. There's some
Probably
former NFL names on there.
Tom Sula's a great name.
Tell you what, I didn't think we'd have that on the bingo card here on this Friday morning. All right, pop quiz in a little bit. 317-239-1070, freebie Friday. So Jiffy Lube oil change coming your way. Andy Sweeney, it was a nice win for the Pacers last night with the returnee of a couple of important pieces. We'll talk about that here on the Morning Checkdown.
Yeah, 111-100, that's your final. Last night, Pacers go on the road, and they beat the Detroit Pistons. Like you mentioned, KB, a couple different storylines. You had Aaron Nesmith returning first game since early November. 9 points in 9 minutes. Didn't play in the second half, but a good start from him. He looked good. And then Tyrese Halliburton just missing just one game with that groin injury. Had 17 and 8. In 34 minutes and started the game last night. But one of the big stories, Miles Turner, 28 points, 8 threes in the win. Here's head coach Rick Carlisle after the game.
He was in a groove for sure, but more than the shot making, I loved his attitude, the way he played the game. There were a lot of things that happened that weren't great things. He had a couple times where he fouled. He was trying to foul Dern and make him go to the free throw line. He got an and one a couple times, but he just kept concentrating. He didn't get too high or too low, and I thought his demeanor and his even emotions were a big factor for our team.
All right, coming up next for the Pacers at home Saturday night, 7 o'clock, our coverage at 6:30. It's Pacers. Paul George back in the house against the Sixers.
Again, Joel Embiid hasn't played in 6 games with a foot injury. I'll be curious how the Aaron Nesmith thing evolves. Again, just 2 stints last night. Looked very good. Not to make too much out of a 9-minute run for him, but I thought the 2 stints, he looked very good. So great to see him back in the lineup again. Benedict Mathurin should be back tomorrow after his 1-game suspension. All right, tonight over in Columbus, is that Value City Arena? I've been in that arena. It has a very NBA feel to it.
It used to be Value City Arena. I don't know what it is now, but it used to be for many
Value
years.
City's still around? I don't think so, is it?
Their headquarters got to be in Columbus, I guess.
I hope Lou Holtz is at the game. It's Indiana, Ohio State, a 7.5-point underdog. Mike Woodson's bunch. Ohio State, they've got Michi Johnson's been out for a while, right? He was one of their better players transferring back there. So Ohio State's had issues this season. We'll see about Malik Renew. Could he be back in the lineup for the Hoosiers? Again, Umar Ballo, by all accounts, will play. No punishment from league or university, which I think I agree with, from what happened there at the end of the game against Illinois.
It's the Schottenstein Center now.
Was it ever Value City?
Oh, it was for more than a decade.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought you were right. When I think of it, I think of the Value City
It's
furniture.
always weird. They got like the student sections, like those first couple rows right behind the bench.
Yeah, and that's about it. Yeah, it is an odd arena. NFL quickly. It all starts Saturday at 4:30. Chiefs, Texans, followed by Lions, Commanders. We've talked about those games. Eagles, Rams, 3 o'clock on Sunday. Bills, Ravens, your CBS game at 6:30. We'll come back. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll keep with the NFL discussion. In 20 minutes, it's a Freebie Friday right here on The Fan.
I think I'm taking it as a comment that was very offensive. Mark Dykton asked me if I should have got a larger size for the Speedo.
Well, you took it off after one segment, and we never even saw it. And so I was just curious, like, was it because it was too tight, or was there other issues?
You imagine going up to someone on the beach, Mark, saying, "Oh, I think you need a bigger swimsuit."
Well, I didn't see it. I'm just judging off of the way you were pacing around the studio.
I'd like to see you try that next time you go to Panama City or wherever.
Hey, I mean, I'll be honest. Some people shouldn't be wearing Speedos.
I would say the majority of people wearing Speedos shouldn't be wearing
That's
Speedos.
true.
It's like when you go to, well, not that I would know, but if you go to the nude beach, come on. It's not all great-looking people,
What is the
okay?
Speedo appeal? Is it just I'm showing more skin, I can, make
I don't
my
know.
way
I
through
I just
the
think it's
water
more of a
little bit
European
more?
thing.
It's just, different cultures, just have different things. It's not in our culture to be pro Speedo. It's much more of a European thing. Why that's the case, I have no idea. But I mean, here's the thing. Your Speedo is not meant to be sitting down doing a radio show.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to have it on for 2 hours doing a radio show. You need it for, a few minutes, if you will.
Oh, well, there's your problem right there. You have the tag part sticking out. That plastic's probably chafing your thigh.
Did the tag already rip off? Boy, I didn't mean to do that. But
So it's sitting somewhere.
yeah, gosh,
I
it's probably
did-
sitting on the bathroom floor.
Stuck in your crack, probably. So.
I
How awkward is that?
I did go to the bathroom
Is it in
after
there?
you, and it was not in there. I did not see it.
Oh no! Did the cleaning lady pick it up?
I think there's a chance a cleaning lady did have to pick that up.
No?
I think that's probably the case.
That's
Well,
humbling.
So what did the wife say when it finally arrived? Then you explained to her what you potentially are going to do, or did she already know? Because I know we haven't really talked about that part of this.
Right. I don't think she kind of fully grasped the story. And then, when I took it out of the box, she was certainly a bit, jarred by that initial look. So I don't know. I think she kind of sides with, I don't think Notre Dame's going to win camp.
Right.
So she thinks that, hopefully she won't have to witness it.
The odds are in her favor. She really needs Will Howard to have 325 yards on Monday night.
I think she contributed Jeremiah Smith's NIL in the last 24 hours.
He's got enough.
What Super Bowl matchup would you hate the most?
Hey, listen, I'm done. It's jealousy. I don't hate the Chiefs. I'm jealous of the Chiefs, so I want the Chiefs to lose.
Okay, so
that's
Super Bowl
the
matchup
AFC.
that would piss you off would be Chiefs and who?
Eagles. Eagles. Yeah.
Mark?
It's not close for me.
I think
it would go Chiefs and Rams.
I knew Andy would say Kansas City. I was a little bit more curious about the NFC. Now Andy hates Sirianni, or or do you just hate the Eagles?
Oh no,
I guess in general.
I despise the Eagles. Sirianni, I don't care much for him. All the Saquon Barkley stuff.
Right.
Yeah, if they went on and they won a Super Bowl, I would walk in here on that Monday a shattered man.
Why the Rams, Mark?
I just think that they were kind of dead for a lot of the season. I mean, they lost to the Bears, for God's sake. So, I mean, for a while, it was not looking good for them.
Well, maybe
they've
that
resurged
makes the
a little
Bears
bit.
look good. It's
They
like IU football with Notre Dame and
But
Ohio State.
they're not an unlikable team, are they?
No. They have players I like on there and whatnot. But I just think, I don't know. If the Chiefs make it to the Super Bowl and the Rams are the only thing standing in their way for a three-peat.
You're saying it's not a sexy matchup.
It's not a sexy matchup.
Which I understand.
Yeah, it's
not
more
Nina
of that
Speedo is
than
what you're
anything
saying?
else. There's no hate towards the Rams. It's more, ugh, really? That's the matchup we're getting? It's more of that.
If the Chiefs win and they go to the Super Bowl, we're going to have 2 weeks of, is this good or bad for the NFL that if the Chiefs win 3 Super Bowls in a row? That's going to be the main discussion.
What about you, Kev?
Is there any Colts fan out there that would say, what if the Texans somehow made it?
Yeah, are Colts fans doing the SEC thing?
Like-
Are they rooting for the Texans
Oh,
on
no.
Saturday? I don't think that's the case.
See, I look at it flip side. I think it's just like the knife is even deeper.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh my gosh,
I know.
are you kidding me?
Especially
Like,
if they
CJ Stroud
if
is
they-
really going to be in our division
if they
for the
win
next
if
decade.
they win, CJ Stroud's going to have a pretty good game too.
So I think that might be one where if we did that poll locally, I think Andy's probably right. I think Chiefs, Eagles, obviously Sirianni's antics here in the stadium a couple years ago. Some people were bothered by that. So that would probably be the answer, but I am curious, like if somehow the Texans got it done, which again I don't think they will, obviously, but would that be a team you'd have?
Do you want me to put a poll out there of just who are you rooting for Sunday, Texans or Chiefs, or do you want it like?
No. I don't. Well, I mean, you can do a poll if you want, Mark. I don't think you need to waste one. I look at it and like the Chiefs. The bothering nature of Kansas City, I think, is jealousy more than hatred. And again, New England, I thought
Agreed.
it was always hatred.
Agreed.
Really, with it. I think Houston would be more of just like the damn.
I know.
Just one more thing.
I know.
Wouldn't that be more of a punch of the gut if the Texans go far? Because you'd be like, well, the division was ripe for the taking, and now they're, or so we thought. And now, if they find their swagger in the playoffs, maybe this was kind of an off year for them, and they still ran away with the division like with a month left.
Well,
we might not be as close following years.
See, with the Texans, what would bother me if I'm a Colts fan is not everything went their way this season.
Right. They've had, I would say, poor injury luck.
They have had, Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell being out, and, Nico Collins went on IR. I mean, those are substantial injuries that not every team can overcome. Plus, you would then feel like, DeMeco Ryans is maybe a little bit more of an elite coach. I think he's a very good coach. I still think, is he going to be that next step? So I think coach and quarterback, and as an organization, overcoming adversity, it's something the Colts haven't been good at. It would be something the Texans would be very good at. So, yeah, if I'm a Colts fan, I'm probably rooting for KC. Let me ask you this. Are the Lions the team that bystanders like us are all rooting for the most? And that's one question.
I got a soft spot for the Bills.
Oh, okay. And then my other question was going to be, between Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, one of those guys on Sunday night going into Monday is going to be the conversation of having an MVP regular season but failing in the postseason. Are people rooting for Josh Allen more or Lamar Jackson?
Yeah.
And I got to be honest, I don't know the answer to that question.
I just feel like if you did the analogies, Brady, Mahomes, Spider-Man meme at this point, and I just view Allen and Lamar like Peyton and Roethlisberger.
I do too.
Peyton and Rivers. And Rivers and Roethlisberger probably not fair. Obviously, Roethlisberger got one, and Rivers, never did, of course, but never got on a ton of runs. Manning is probably the best angle to it, but yeah, I mean that's what I think this whole 2-3 seed debate was all about. Of like, in a weird way, is when you look at it, that this game just has such monumental stake about how we're going to view it. The winner you're going to view as kind of hey, they're the pick to now go to the Super Bowl. I think a lot of people will pick winner of Ravens Bills to beat the Chiefs if that's how it plays out. Whereas the loser, it's going to be 9 months of this. Or hell, more like a year of it, because you're going to hear it until all up until the playoffs.
Yeah, I happen.
It's a bad time to be born in the AFC with quarterbacks.
Well, I mean, no kidding. I happen to think it may be a little bit louder if Lamar plays so bad on Sunday on Lamar Jackson.
Even on the road?
Yeah, well, they're favored too. I think he's going to win MVP.
I just feel like Buffalo has always been.
I know.
Buffalo's been closer, so I think it hurts more. I know Baltimore had the home AFC title game last year, but I just feel like Buffalo has had more opportunities. I mean, both it's going to hurt. I mean, who am I kidding
We're
here?
splitting hairs at this point.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be demoralizing. The one thing, I just mentioned this in passing earlier in the show, there's a lot of this is a legacy game for the Ravens and Bills and Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. And I understand it. I guess to a certain point, I agree with it. But the legacy game is making the Super Bowl and having to go into Kansas City and beat Pat Mahomes. Like, that's the one.
Yeah, that's the AFC title game for the Colts in 06.
That's the one. That's the one you have to win. So, like, I'm almost worried, and I know you have a week off and everything, the team that wins this, it's not over, right? I mean, you just had this monumental win. Whoever wins this game, Lamar and the Ravens or Josh Allen and the Bills, will be the talking point for that entire week. But it means nothing if you go to Kansas City and lose 26-14, right? I mean, that will evaporate pretty damn fast. So I'm excited. My main thing in this game is, please, we need these games to be good. We need 3 of the 4 of these games to be good to great games. Last weekend, not a great NFL weekend. You would agree with that?
Oh, I found my tag.
Oh, it was...
Somehow it was in my shirt.
I was wondering what you were doing over there.
Unbelievable. I was like, what the hell is that? That thing's really itching on me.
How'd you put that Speedo on with his shirt on?
I felt like I was getting poured to the side.
How did the Speedo tag get all the way up there on your ribs?
I don't
Goes over
know,
your legs,
man.
not your arms.
Look
How'd
at
you
me.
get it
I'm
on?
clearly not built to be wearing a
That's been quite the
Speedo.
show.
No.
God.
Oh, goodness. Let's take
Thank
a break.
the Lord, there's only 21 minutes
Yeah,
left.
it's a Freebie Friday. 317-239-1070. Load them up. Pop quiz. Freebie Friday coming up next.
Man, I'm looking forward to Purdue and Oregon tomorrow. That's 3:00 on NBC. I feel like Oregon has certainly been a program that's had some really interesting teams under Dana Altman. teams of like, wait, are they legit in the tournament? Remember they upset Iowa with Garza that one year?
Oh yeah, and they always have a couple guys who are pros.
Yeah,
or 5-star kids.
You go back to the Dylan Brooks teams, or I think Chris Duarte was on that team that maybe upset Garza, if I'm remembering correctly. But that will be 3:00 tomorrow. Again, Purdue and Oregon there. If you look at the standings, Michigan, big upset last night in the barn with Dawson Garcia throwing one in from about 35 feet for the win there. That helped out Purdue. So I know January 18th when the game will happen. It's probably premature to start gluing yourself to Big Ten standings, but this is an important game, and there's no return if I'm right on that. So, we're going to get a ton of unbalanced nature to the schedule here. So, the head-to-head tiebreaker obviously would come into play as well.
One Pacer item we haven't mentioned. So in the first segment, we were talking about the little scuffle at the end of the game if you stayed up. Pascal Siakam was going back and forth with a couple players, including Tim Hardaway Jr., then Halliburton comes over, then Cade Cunningham comes over. So
I was fearing for Jeremiah Johnson's life.
We all were, but Isaiah...
Not that JJ couldn't hold his own.
Yeah, but these guys are, finely tuned young athletic machines. But anyway.
So finely tuned? I mean, have you seen JJ?
I have. Isaiah Stewart is the player who went nuts and tried to chase down LeBron James a couple years ago. We talked about that earlier. James Johnson, who is, we know why he is still on this Pacers team. So James Johnson was out there, and, I don't know if he was playing peacemaker, but he was very much there for the smoke, if you will. If something were to break out, he made sure that he, as the personal bodyguard to maybe Tyrese Halliburton and others, that he was there. One thing that people are doing lip reading. Did you see what Isaiah Stewart supposedly said to Miles Turner?
No.
Did you see this, Mark? Stewart said to Miles Turner...
Are we allowed to say it on air?
No, he said basically, get out of here. You play with Legos. Which is actually, for people that don't know, Miles Turner has an extensive Lego collection. So
that is
there
outstanding.
You go. He goes, you play with Legos.
Defensive end yelling out Rodrigo Blankenship before a big kick. You play with Legos.
Pretty chippy out there. Is the old Pistons-Pacers rivalry coming back now?
I hope so. I just hope
is this
that,
Bickerstaff?
When we were kicking their ass at their place, it wasn't the same. So if that's the way it's going to be, let's make it that way.
I like it.
Well, we love it. I
mean, I liked it last year with the Bucks.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it, I guess.
No. But
them and the Pistons.
It got chippy there at the end. And again, JJ was interviewing Turner, and boy, they're looking over their shoulder like I was looking over my shoulder putting the Speedo on in the bathroom a few
Just in
minutes
time for the NBA to return the NBC, right? Get those old 90s rivalries
One more
going.
time, right, this year? Pacers, Pistons, all road
wins.
wins.
Soon, yeah.
All road wins so far. To start that series. Pacers up 2-1. CW's reached out here. We talked about earlier. We had a awful for Arch hashtag. CW's suggesting parched for Arch.
The Colts aren't going to be bad enough to get Arch. I just hate it. I hate it for everybody.
I don't know if the Mannings would want that to happen, to be quite honest.
That's a different discussion, but they're not going to be that bad. You're going to win 3 games.
So now with Quinn Ewers officially declaring for the draft, we will get full Arch Manning next year in Austin, correct?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I think he'll be great. Would you rather have Jalen Milroe or Quinn Ewers? I think Milroe goes in round 2, and I think Quinn Ewers goes in round 3. But if I gave you the option, they're both there at 3.
A little bit of boom or bust.
Yeah.
All the times I watched Texas, I thought they're paying Quinn Ewers this much money. That's what I felt.
He's good,
he's been
but
hyped up, I swear, for the last decade.
Well, he's 25. I think it was 21-5 as a starter. Made the college football twice. Went into Alabama, won that game, and beat Oklahoma. Made the Final Four. I don't know. I think he's fine. You taking a picture of the Speedo?
Yeah.
You sending that baby out, or you send that to the family text message chain you have going on?
Sure, my mother-in-law would love to see the Speedo group text.
No. She's going to, potentially, if they win the national title. All right, you want to give a number or do you want me to? Freebie Friday
go with
time.
Number, Notre Dame needs to score 3 touchdowns.
That sounds like Philip.
Hey, Philip.
Hello. Hey, how's it going?
Good. Philip, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
We're great. Greatest Philip athlete of all time?
I'm all right. I wish I was better at basketball, but that's all right.
Sorry, I asked the question poorly. Well, maybe the answer is you. I was going to say the greatest Philip athlete of all time. Not necessarily your athletic career. Rivers came to mind.
Philip Dorsett. Can't forget.
I guess Phil can kind of be. You could go a lot of different areas on that.
I think the obvious answer would be Rivers.
And I think he was pretty pro Philip. He wanted to go full.
Oh, of course he was.
Is he still coaching down there?
Is he still having kids? And both of those are questions I would like to be answered. I have no idea.
I want to say his oldest boy's got to be close to high school.
No, he is.
Is he?
I saw something this morning. He's a 5-star. I know.
Really?
Yeah, he's a 5-star. NC State and others are going after him. I need to look that
Does
up
he
because
throw
I
the
saw
ball
it
like
today.
Dad?
I would imagine he does. I have no idea, but he's a 5-star player.
Unbelievable.
So good for him. Don't go to NC State, though, kid. Come on.
Philip, congrats on the Jiffy Lube oil change. We need a 5. We've had some pretty putrid performances this week, if memory serves me correct. Andy Sweeney, go ahead and throw number 1
All
on.
right, question number 1. The Pacers made it 7 wins in their last 8 games with the victory last night in Detroit. Who was the game's leading scorer? Was it Pascal Siakam, Tim Hardaway Jr., Miles Turner, or Cade Cunningham?
I think it was Turner. I think he had 28.
A lot of threes for number 33 last night. Number 2 here, Philip. The Thunder beat the Cavs by 20 last night in the matchup of the two teams now tied for the best record in the NBA at 34-6. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, his 5th 40-point game of the season, won against Indiana, correct? He had a big night here. That's the second most in the NBA. Philip, who's got the most 40-point games this season? Is it Jokic, Giannis, Anthony Edwards, or Andy's boy, Karl Anthony Towns?
Let's go with Edwards.
You sure?
No. Let's go with Karl Anthony Towns, I guess.
You sure, Philip?
Nope. Go with, it's not Giannis. What was the other option? Jokic? Let's go with Jokic.
Or Giannis?
Let's go with Jokic.
All right, question number 3. The Thunder have outscored their opponents by 520 points this season. That's crazy. The 3rd most ever for an NBA team through 40 games. Name the team that had the largest positive point differential through 40 NBA games. The 1971 LA Lakers, the 1971 Milwaukee Bucks, the 95 Bulls, or the 2015 Spurs?
Oh, man, I was thinking it might have been Golden State. Let's just go with the Spurs, I guess.
Philip, had some homework for Scotty yesterday on the show. Wednesday night, obviously, Purdue won 69-58 over Washington. That's 6 straight in a row, 6 straight in Big Ten play. The last 5 Big Ten wins for Purdue have come by double digits. That is the most for the program since '88. Can you name the last Big Ten men's basketball team to win 5 straight conference games by at least 10 points? A, Illinois, B, Iowa, C, Indiana, or D, Ohio State?
This is a tough one.
Scotty, putting Indiana on here was kind of a joke, right? Jeez, dear Lord.
Well, he's got to have some fun himself on the pop quiz, right? You put Indiana in there, makes him smile.
This happened more recently than I thought.
Tell me those options again, man.
Yeah, more recently than I thought. Illinois, Iowa, Indiana, or Ohio State?
Let's go Illinois.
I just hate even saying Ohio State out loud.
Well, didn't you think that's who it was initially? With Greg Oden and company?
Yeah.
That
is.
All right, last one. Philip, on this day in 1999, the 16-1 Minnesota Vikings lost the NFC Championship game 30-27 in overtime to the Atlanta Falcons. The Vikings had a chance to go up by 10 points late in the fourth quarter, but the Vikings kicker missed a 39-yard field goal, his only miss of a field goal or PAT the entire season. I remember this. Name the kicker. Was it
man.
Morton Anderson, Eddie Murray, Gary Anderson, Ryan Longwell.
I have no idea. Let's go with Longwell, I guess.
One bar, right?
One bar, and it was just left, right? I mean, it looked like it was actually going to go in.
Great memory by you.
Oh, I remember this one.
So that's Culpepper and Moss and all them?
Yep.
Wow.
16-1.
Well, that was a great start, Philip. Very poor finish. Turner was correct. Stay on the line, Philip, by the way.
Correcto.
Jokic, Andy,
Yep.
6 40-pointers. And Edwards only with 2. That kind of surprised me.
I know, and Towns only had 3. I mean, Joker's he's just going to go down as just, MJ and LeBron. I mean, he ain't going to be too far behind those guys.
He's an absolute legend. He threw one against the wall, got one right here with the Spurs.
That is correct.
And then reality set in.
Yeah, and then this was yours.
This stuns me.
Name the last Big Ten team to win 5 straight conference games by at least 10 points. It was Iowa. How about that? 2022, and that was, as Scotty said, it was the Murray brothers. It was those teams.
Was it just 5? Did they do a 6th? No, just 5. Boy, Purdue's not going to win by double digits, are they? Over Oregon?
I doubt it.
You imagine
Boy,
at Oregon?
If they do, that's going to be one of the better wins.
Win.
Yeah, that's going to be one of the better wins of the season. And then the right answer to number 5, it was Gary Anderson, not Morton. It was Gary Anderson who hit the game winner. Morton Anderson, actually, it's funny. He hit the game winner, right? If I'm not mistaken. So there you go. Not a bad job there.
So someone
Pretty
sent
solid.
me Gunnar Rivers throwing, and oh boy.
Is it the same?
He looks like Pops. This is great. Notre Dame needs to get on this kid.
Well, you have Angelo, right? You're good to go.
Angeli.
Angelo.
Yeah. Well, maybe C.J.
Angelo.
Carr, Lloyd Carr's grandson.
Really?
Yeah, he
had
is a
no
true
idea.
freshman at Notre Dame.
Does it say who's recruiting him? Because
no,
I know
it just
he's a
kinda lists
5-star
his
kid.
stats, but boy, he slings it from the sidearm like his dad.
What you guys got popping this weekend? Anything besides football?
Not a lot. I probably need to be doing a lot of dad stuff, right, before I depart.
Oh, yeah. You're going to have to do it. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, you're going to be gone. You're going to be gone Monday?
Yes. We'll leave
into
Sunday.
Tuesday?
Sunday at 4.
So you'll be gone not even 48 hours, but,
Yeah, it's about a 36-hour trip.
That's not good. So you and your brother at some point this weekend, are you going to buy a ticket, or is this, again, riding into Monday?
DMs are open.
Okay.
Ryan Bowen's status is up in the air.
Oh, boy. What, to go, or?
We might need a miracle.
Oh, boy. I don't like hearing that. So we're back on Monday, 1075thefan.com. Check out